10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Magic After Dark. My name is Ryan Edwards. This is my co-host,
Blaze Sarah. Welcome, everybody, to the show. We're so happy to have you here, and we're so excited for tonight's guest.
It's going to be a ton of laughs.
It's going to be hilarious.
I know that. I am pumped for tonight. So
watch him just be stone-faced the entire time. Just cut off all of the laughs. The funniest person in Magic with no laughs the entire episode. He doesn't allow it.
That's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be like deadpan everything. But yeah, I can't wait. It's going to get stupid in this place. Yeah, so
we're going to just keep talking so that he doesn't know when we're going to bring him in or not. He's just on his toes.
I did say this, though. He does, because I was at Magi Fest a couple of years ago, and he does a roast of magic. And so I said, Blaze and me have to be on our best behaviors tonight. Otherwise, we are going to make that roast. And this segment may already be on there. It may be the intro to it. So without further ado, should we bring on the man, the myth, and the legend?
The man, the myth, the legend, Harrison, the man, the myth, the legend, Greenbaum. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Do I have to do the sound effect thing? How long did you practice that? Jesus. Why did you think that was? Have you been doing this the entire time? Am I the first person?
So we do every episode, and every episode, the guest, some of the guests
just feel obligated to do it.
They're like usually they're like this. They're like,
they're like, woo.
Yeah.
Well, also, Ryan was like, "Here's my co-host," and he pointed towards the empty chair, which would have been hilarious.
It's such a weird camera angle.
I just materialize in.
Yeah, exactly.
My co-host.
I was expecting so much, and then he just popped up in another screen.
I was just here.
Especially because backstage, you saw that he was in that room where he is at his place. It would have been so great if I was like, here's my co-host, Blaze Sarah.
I like any magician who hangs up guitars behind him as if to say, I do have sex sometimes.
If someone came into this room, they would have no idea I did magic at all because it's just been
hence the steps.
Hence we are here. What Alex Boyer had it as well. He had guitars and drums all behind him. He gave us a drum solo to end the episode.
I own a triangle, which I know how to play.
Nice.
And I have a big kazoo. I didn't go full on. There was an option to buy an electric kazoo, and I still might do it.
I'm concerned about an electric kazoo.
Literally, I went on Amazon. I need to buy a kazoo.
The amount of spitting into a kazoo that takes place is just outstanding. And so the amount of electricity is just less than bueno.
If you want to do a screen share, if you Google electronic kazoo in Amazon, it's just a kazoo and they've glued on a lavalier microphone. They just bought the two things and glued them together. It is not.
You are 100% right. This is an electric kazoo.
They just glued a microphone into a kazoo.
I was going to say, we've never seen any electric kazoo players.
Oh my God.
It wasn't electrocuted.
Oh my God. That's some heavy metal shit right there. Is just electric kazoo.
That is amazing.
You think it's badass being the bass player, but electric kazoo.
Electric kazooist. Yeah. What is the word for someone who plays kazoo? Is it kazooist? Kazoni?
Gay?
Gay?
Can I
gay question mark?
Canceled on this thing, and only 30 people are watching. It's not worth it.
It's all right.
No, the kazoo is great.
This man can't get canceled. He's debated Steven Crowder. He can't get canceled. He's already proven he's on the right side of history here.
Exactly. I love all people, and these are jokes.
These are jokes.
Yeah. No, it's just more questioning life at that point, I think. If you're playing the electric kazoo, you're like, I couldn't really find an instrument to play, like saxophone.
I took the road less traveled by. And how did I end up here?
That's the guy I want to talk to, though. He has weird collections in his apartment. He's like, this is my electric kazoo, and also I have a rubber duck from every state. And you're like, yes, of course you do.
Yeah, of course you do. I'm taking a photo with every state sign.
That's amazing.
Hello, Cedric. And Ethan's asking about your color coordination. That is true. Your backgrounds match
We're
up.
all matchy.
So, usually I go pink on this side as well.
Yeah, it goes pink, and then it just a whole goes straight across. Yeah, we got that.
So
that ombre.
Yeah, sometimes that we're so color coordinated and with the whoosh and stuff that
and with the whoosh, we're leaving out. Harrison's got the pink though. He's got.
I do. I like to light my apartment like I'm about to do a Twitch stream at any moment.
He's always ready.
I'm prepared for Fortnite.
Let me fix it. I will get this looking right.
Yes, sir. I'm offended that you abandoned me with your blue lights.
I was doing a company
now I'm
show
feeling
earlier,
blue,
and their company color is blue and green. So.
Says Blaira's in the house. It's a YouTube page now? Oh no.
Do you have a doppelganger?
No. There's a person who has made a Says Blaira account and posts memes of me that are rather ridiculous.
They are incredible.
They're like the most niche jokes. Yeah. But Harrison, you mentioned the Twitch streaming. I know that you probably weren't using really Twitch as your platform, but you've been kind of crushing it since everything shut down. I saw you were doing live streams all the time, interviews and stuff. So
yeah, at the height of the pandemic, I was hosting National Lampoon Live, which was a comedy show to raise money for. We were basically raising money to get PPE to the hands of, at the beginning, New York City healthcare workers who need them most, and then into the hands of. We became a little bit more national as other places needed it. And then I did Who Books That for the International Brotherhood of Magicians. We did 37 episodes. I figured right when the pandemic started, I was like, if there was ever a time to interview magicians, it's gonna be now because they have nothing to do. So I really got to interview like a dream list of people. So that was incredible. Everyone from Amazing Jonathan to Penn Jillette to Larry Wilmore. We had Neil deGrasse Tyson did a celebrity cameo on the Larry Wilmore episode. Just like amazing stuff.
That's great.
And then I also did Scam Online. We were supposed to launch a live immersive show in New York City, March 2020. A fantastic time for an entertainment venture.
Yeah.
So we shifted to virtual, and we did 25 episodes of a virtual magic showcase, essentially. And we really built up sort of the lore and storyline of what the Society of Conjurers and Magicians, also known as the Scam, is. And April 4th, we launched the show.
Yeah,
a year late.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I remember seeing that you guys are live now, which is amazing. Because I know we've been chatting back and forth about like your comedy show. You were up and running for the last while, and I'm here in Canada, and we have. If you're doing a live show right now, it's probably like a backyard show. Like it is nothing in an event space. Although I did get an email from a theater today that said our space is now available. So, but we have no idea what the seating, and maybe like 7 people in like a 300 seat theater. So it's like, why rent this? But yeah.
Or as Chris Angel calls it, a sellout.
Yeah, exactly.
I was racking through my brain for 1 minute. I had the joke in my head, and I was like, "Which magician can I say?"
Which magician? Yeah.
Please.
Like, all right, I'll do. Chris, I'm sorry.
He'll tell everybody to stand up on their feet and then call it a standing ovation.
Oh, this is awesome. Nathan is one of my neighbors. His dad actually just came over. I do kind of guys' night at my house for a few of the neighbors, and they come over, and I've got a pizza oven in the backyard, so we make pizza and play ping pong or pool or foosball. And so tonight we were playing ping pong, but Nathan is his son and said that he's looking to be my apprentice. So Nathan,
Ryan, without children,
you were saying that you were doing all these activities with his son.
No,
I hope there's some supervision.
Invite Nathan over for foosball.
What are you doing? Like a Chuck E. Cheese in your backyard? It's going to attract attention, Ryan.
It's like a men's group. Men's group.
Men's group makes much more sense.
Yeah, no. So that's awesome.
New York has been up and running. April, basically, we got the go ahead to sell tickets. Like you could sell tickets to an entertainment event. Before that, even though we were doing like rooftop shows, I did a drive-in show where I was performing for cars, and because there were
awesome.
residential buildings around it, they couldn't even honk. They would just wave their wipers when they liked what you were saying.
No way.
Yeah, or blink their headlights. Those were the two options.
So it's either
Oh
you're
my God.
blinded, you're like, or it's
Yeah.
like, or just windshield wipers going.
Yeah, that was my first. The lockdown happened in March, and then that was like 2 or 3 months in.
Yeah.
I got the invitation to do that, and I was terrified. We were all terrified. But I drove my own car. Like I borrowed my dad's car because he was in our pod, and we drove to the gig. My fiance and I. She wasn't my fiance then. This was pre-dad. But I just I was wearing gloves, which was a weird, in retrospect, a weird thing. Like that wasn't helping me at all.
Yeah.
Everybody had their own microphones and microphone covers, and we were outside. So it's like, okay, I can do the set, and then we got to get out of here. But that was my first live set into the pandemic. Was about 2 or 3 months in, and then we did shows in the park, with audience super far away. We were outside, masked except when we were in front. Then there was rooftop shows. So there was a steady stream of by December, January, it was at least 1 or 2 a week-ish, depending. Right. I mean, it was so amazing to get booked for a show on a roof in January in New York City. And you're it's negative 10 degrees. No one will show up. And everybody's wearing a mask. Everybody's super far away from you. And they're wearing coats and a jacket. And they're wearing
you can't see their faces.
Hand warners. And we're performing stand-up. So it was crazy to see the dedication, both of the comics who you kind of knew would be willing to do that, but the audience who was willing to sit on these roofs in sub-zero temperatures. And then April, the thing opened wide up, and now there are no regulations. So we the comedy clubs are packed. Some of the clubs require you to be vaccinated, so you definitely feel safer in those to a degree because they have to show proof of vaccination to be in the audience. That's not every club.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, I mean, I've been performing basically back to my original schedule, 10, 15 shows a week.
That's crazy.
Amazing. Especially because New York was hit so hard at the beginning and everything so rapidly had to very strictly close down. And now you guys are kind of leading the way when it comes to reopening. I mean, you compare it to something like Los Angeles where they're seeming to regress right now.
Yeah, I have a joke about that where I talk about New York. New York's the worst place to be during a pandemic because there's no movie about the end of the world where New York makes it out.
Yeah, it's true.
It wouldn't survive zombies, right? We'd just be walking around wow, the homeless people have gotten very aggressive. We'd be on a subway, some guy would be brains, at least he's not masturbating. At least it'll be worse.
That's different people on the street corner. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure every end of the world movie, California always survives, right? It's The Rock is going to come in and he's going to save people. There was the one with all the earthquakes and stuff there not long ago, but yeah, it's crazy because New York got hit harder with COVID than probably all of Canada, right? Literally more people died in New York City than all of Canada, and you guys are back open, and we are still we're in phase 3 of reopening. We are still not fully open yet. So
it's still weird though, I'll tell you, even though we've been open now basically since April, at least in April, it was limited capacity, but the shows were still starting up. Every once in a while you kind of look around and you're are we allowed to do this? It feels illicit sometimes.
Yeah. That's
it's
pretty
really
crazy.
I saw Black Widow in the theaters and I was I can't believe we're allowed. It was bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the path nowadays with your virtual content? Are you kind of really scaling that back now that things have reopened, or are you still trying to do some of the same kind of live streams and things that you were doing before?
Well, now that I know about the whoosh, I want to redo all of it so I can start every show
with the whoosh.
Oh, it's convincing so many people. What a convincing illusion.
The whoosh. Convincing illusion.
Wow, the subtleties you have.
Where did he come from?
Oh, no, the subtleties with the thumb and then the sound effect to really drive home the possibility.
Oh, yeah. People try it at home, but sound effects are not included. It's a learned sport.
You'll hear later on in the episode that we have our own soundtrack coming out for the entire thing, Magic After Dark. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. I'm very good at theme songs. I'm very good at coming up with theme songs.
Your random numbers song is legendary.
I was going to say, I have heard a couple of your theme songs that are absolutely epic. So you may make fun of ours. But
you actually have a theme song?
Numerous.
Few, yeah.
What?
What?
Yeah.
You think that? Oh, what kind of show you think we're running here?
We may do the whoosh, but that's
We may do the whoosh.
I want to hear I want to hear a sample of this theme
We
song.
start the bar here, so we can only go up to the whoosh.
We're only at 10:30 right now, so you got to.
Do you say the name of the show in the theme song?
No, it's not an all-encompassing umbrella theme song. It's more like specific moments,
segments
theme song
in the show.
Oh no, it's got to have the name. It's got to be like Magic After Dark, Magic After Dark, Magic After Dark.
Bum. Yeah.
I'm right. I'm Blaze.
Welcome to Blue's Clues.
It's great.
I like Dominic's thing. Says you have to be a pro to do whoosh.
Here's the Grim Reaper. The D stands for death.
Yeah, Dominic Death. I think
Tom
that's so maybe Harrison, he's saying you're not a professional yet. I don't know.
How dare he?
Ouch. Well, he's roasting you already tonight. So, but how the show works is we kind of, I've always said with all of the guests, we could call you up, have a conversation on the phone with you, but we open the platform up for people watching. If they have any questions for you, ask away, comment in the comment section, and we will ask Harrison those questions. And then if not, we will just banter and come up with stupid conversations the rest of the night. So,
but about the virtual thing, it's been really interesting. Because I was sort of at the forefront as soon as people started going virtual. Like the week we locked down, we launched Scam. So we were basically one of the first just magic shows out there. Same thing with Who Books That. We got that out really, really fast. And so then as virtual shows, there was a convention of essentially event planners that was supposed to be physical. They did it on Zoom, and they invited me to perform, and they were still figuring out like what the hell does a virtual event even look like? Is that how can we convert our business? And so I showed them, because I in a past life I was a TV producer, so I very quickly assembled a home studio and switching cameras and all that stuff. So I showed them like what my show looks like and what it could look like, all that kind of stuff. And so I started getting bookings really early. So there was a period where I was like, this is great. Like I'm booking as much work as I would if it was not a pandemic, but I don't have to leave my apartment. Obviously, I would have preferred no pandemic, and like
that's,
to be clear,
that's the funny thing though, is like I know I've become so used to doing virtual shows now and being home. I said like I would do virtual shows forever if I was able to travel. Like if I could go on vacation somewhere, but I lived at home doing virtual shows, I think I could live with it. Like obviously we love doing live shows and having that interaction with people. And at first I hated virtual shows. I was like, oh, the reactions, it's so tough. Like, and then once I learned OBS and stuff, then it was like, oh, this is fantastic. But like, and I see Dominic ask, like, what do you prefer, virtual, drive-by, or in-person?
I prefer the drive-by show.
Yeah,
the drive-by. Do you prefer drive-by?
I love drive-bys.
Drive-by broodings. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there was a weird period when things were starting to open up, and I would like do a live rooftop show, then have to run back to my apartment to do a virtual show.
Yeah,
and I was joking. I was trying to explain it to an audience, and I was like, doing a live show and then running back to your apartment to do a virtual show is like having sex with a very attractive lady and then running home to do a virtual show.
It's a very stark contrast.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like the virtual thing was very cool, especially when it was the only thing. Like it was definitely better than nothing. But man, now that I'm kind of back doing live, there is a magic of being in front of an audience, especially like as a comedian. I need that response. I think some of the more serious magicians, but they don't need the direct audience feedback as much, or limited, where it's like one or two people that they're interacting with at a time.
Yeah.
I think that is a little bit better. But with comedy, I need that constant laughter. That's what comedy is, right?
For sure.
Without it, what is it? A eulogy? Like what is comedy without laughter? It's just like a sad speech. So going back into the clubs and hearing that snap, as much as it is weird to like all of a sudden go, oh, now I have to spend 12 hours traveling to a gig to perform for less people than I could have from my apartment. So that part is annoying. But I've noticed the number of live bookings exponentially grown, while the number of virtual bookings is really starting to taper off. And they're going, okay, we saved money on entertainment because we were paying less for virtual in many cases. So now they're having these blowouts where they hire like 7 performers for one crazy event.
Yeah.
So a lot of the magician friends of mine in New York their calendars are busier than they've ever been.
Nice.
Which is great. Yeah. And that's interesting what you were talking about with needing the feedback, because you'll hear a lot of comedians talk about writing on stage and the fact that, like, because if you're on a roll and you're kind of in the zone and you're getting great feedback from the audience, you can try out new things and then you can work that into a bit. Well, first off, I guess I would ask, do you do that? And then my second question would be, like, were you able to work on new material while doing just virtual shows and without getting the same kind of feedback that you would when it's live?
Yeah. I mean, if I have enough shows on my calendar, you want to go on stage with a plan. There are comics that solely just write on stage. John Mulaney had an interesting quote because he said his process was basically writing on stage. Then he got SNL. And so the number of spots he could do was just reduced by the fact that he had to be in the office working on a TV show. And so he realized he could write before he got on stage. It's like, oh, I could do some of this work before I get to the club. Yeah. But yeah, the only way to see if something's funny is to get in front of an audience. There's a famous comic, there's a quote that for a comedian, the instrument is the audience. It's like magicians, if you're doing a card trick, the cards are the instrument. A singer, it's their voice. The guitar player, it's the guitar. But for the comedian, it's the thing that you're trying to wrestle sound out of is the audience. So you can't practice it alone in your apartment. You just can't do it. Yeah. Virtual shows were intriguing to me because usually, like when I do a roast, for example, I only really get one shot. Like when I do Magi Fest, you get one shot with those jokes. So you can't just run around New York City doing magic-specific jokes. So like before I did the virtual, we did a virtual roast, State of the Union for Vanishing Ink. Yeah. I put on Facebook, like, anybody want to jump on a Zoom? I want to run some roast jokes. And Rudy Kobe jumped on, and David Corsera, a bunch of guys jumped on. And it was amazing because I was able to run the jokes and hear some feedback and at least have some kind of direction. There's a couple of jokes I immediately cut. There's a couple of jokes I knew I had to like tighten up just from that one, from running it that way. Yeah. But there was definitely a couple of jokes that I really thought, wow, I've been working it out virtual show by virtual show, like, and perfecting it. And then I got up in front of a real live audience and I was like, oh, that it's not the same feedback.
It's the same. Interesting.
So not that many jokes I wrote during the pandemic really survived as much. Although stuff that I wrote on the rooftops did, interestingly enough. Yeah. And I was able to sort of then practice them on virtual shows. But I had a rule when I created magic for my virtual shows that I didn't want to create. I wanted to, as much as I could, create effects that I could do live also that didn't require being virtual. Because there are some tricks where you can't do them in real life. They only work in your virtual show.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, if I don't want to spend so much time to perfect a trick, and then it's dead if I stop doing virtual. So one of the tricks that I developed for my virtual show, because the method, the real life method didn't work in a virtual show, I ended up coming up with a really clean method for it that I now use in my live show in a new trick. So that new trick wouldn't have existed if I hadn't done virtual shows. And I had a lot of knowledge of how that trick could go wrong and how it could go right before I even got it on stage live, which was really, really cool.
So you're still able to get your reps in with it. Yeah. And work it out.
Yeah. So I have a brand new trick. It opens the our scam show. It's sort of like a Disney ride. There's a pre-show with about half the audience. And then you get loaded into your individual rooms of about, let's say, 10 people, which was a COVID necessity where they were even smaller numbers. But now that we're allowed to kind of do just a big audience, we've kept it in the rooms because we're like, this is actually really great. So that was a way the sort of constraints of the pandemic forced us to be creative in ways I don't know we would have done if we had just been able to pile an audience in right away. Yeah. But the pre-show thing involves a trick, the sort of pre-show effect, which, by the way, involves no pre-show. That's the cool thing about it. We had to add a frisbee because people thought we were like setting something up, and we're like, no, this method is so clean. It really is a random person. But yeah, that trick, the guts of it, came from my virtual show.
That's awesome. It is great that, I mean, the virtual world has pushed us to think about magic differently, right? Because for a little while, yeah, we were creating magic for like this space, right? But but like you said, a lot of people were like, okay, I'm going to learn this or invest in this. Even with all the OBS and stream decks and cameras and stuff, now it's like, well, I have all this equipment now. Now what do I do with it? I've spent thousands of dollars. Should I? And so Magic After Dark, that's how Magic After Dark started. I was doing Instagram lives on my Instagram and just doing mentalism, like just talking to fans and showing tricks and stuff. And then I kind of ran out. I was doing it every single night. For a while, and I was like, I don't have any more magic to show it. And so
with Scam, it was a weekly show, and at the beginning we were like, what tricks can we adapt from our acts to the show? And the scary thing too was it was a show that lived on YouTube, so it wasn't like it was one of those shows where like it's gonna be on the internet. It's not like a private Zoom show where you do it and it's gone. So once you've done a trick, you've done the trick, and it's the only time you get to do it because now you can't just 3 weeks later attempt it again. Yeah. So we ran through the material that we wanted to pretty quickly, and then almost every week it became we have to invent a trick. Yeah, we're gonna have to come up, and I really got to put my own method because my You Are All Terrible lecture, the main thrust of the first half is you come up with the idea first and then the method. Yeah. So you kind of write the script or figure out what's going to happen and then you figure out how to make it happen. And we live that every week where it's like, okay, what do we want to happen on the show? And then work backwards and figure out, okay, how do you, we're not wizards. So how do we achieve that?
Yeah. Now here's a question, because I would do the same thing. Like I'm writing a new show. And so my whole show is already basically scripted, or there's a good outline of the script. And then it's creating magic now to fit those stories, right? But when you're writing comedy, how do you work on that? Is it like, because I mean, Your Magic is so much comedy as well, but is it like, do you have like a topic and you're like, okay, this topic, like bullet points, what is funny about that? Or is it more like, hey, I was at the store the other day and this triggered this, like
you've heard my store bit.
I've heard the store bit. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a good bit.
Yeah.
You ever go to that store and then buy stuff and then it goes on from there? People
Wow, it's so relatable.
Yeah, everybody. It's just
Ellen DeGeneres' whole special. Relatable.
What's the deal with money?
What's the deal with having money?
Yeah, you trade it for goods. It's like if there's an economic system based upon it.
And then we get into Mulaney and go and/or services.
I mean, it's interesting because the other thing too is like a lot of magicians will say like I have a story, or like. For me, the method goes beyond just saying, like, I have a story. What trick goes with it? You literally write the script of, like, then this thing flies, and then it disappears. So, like, even that moment is you come up in advance before the method enters. Yeah. But when it comes to jokes, I just have, like, my joke notebook, which I just did a show tonight, so it's on my desk. Which, by the way, now has an Apple tracker on it.
Nice.
So that I can't, because if I ever lose a notebook, it's like it's heartbreaking. This is a $1 notebook with a $30 tracker.
This is how magic minded I was. I was like, why does Harrison have a reel on his?
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah.
It's like
this means that there's $29 worth of jokes in here. That's what that's what makes up for this value.
That's amazing.
No, anything that creates a strong emotional response could potentially be a joke. Yeah. And then I try to turn it over in my head. And then you go on stage with it and you see if you can, if it'll resonate with the audience. So like my Lightning Roy joke, which I did on Conan, just came from finding out about that guy, like the guy who was hit by lightning more than anybody.
Hilarious bit, yeah.
Because I had another bit about lightning, so I was just like kind of Googling about lightning, and I'm like, has anybody been hit more than once? And they were like, this guy's been hit 7 times.
7 times, yeah. It's like,
which is just mind-boggling. So I would go on stage, and originally I basically just had the ending. And it took about 6 months before I couldn't figure out what the best way to make it just a punchy, solid joke. I put it away for a little bit. And then when I took it back on stage, I almost immediately was like, well, the first time you would feel this way. And then I was like, and the second time you'd feel this way. And I didn't have examples for each number. But as soon as I walked off stage, I was like, that's the structure.
Yeah.
Now I know not only what the funny topic is, but the structure it's going to hit.
For sure.
I can work that out. I can come up with every punchline that I need to see exactly what's going to hit the most. So once I had that scaffolding, then the bit really started to reach the form that it ended up in.
Yeah.
Some bits are a little bit faster. My opening line I really like because I haven't really heard that structure very often. There's a lot of comedy structures that are just, repeated over and over again. They're fundamentals. But my opening line now is I just got engaged to a girl from Nebraska, which is a fun sentence to say because different parts of it are surprising to each of you.
Yeah.
And then there's more to it. But like the idea of that is just like setting up who I am very quickly and then setting up that I'm aware of who I am. I come across. Like that's just a fun joke structurally. And obviously I don't know how many other people, I don't think anybody else could do it. It's very specific. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it comes from my life. Like I mentioned it. I had said that to somebody. Like I had said I'd been engaged and I had said, actually the joke started out when I said I was dating because I had been telling people I was dating a girl from Nebraska. And then I immediately thought like, and which one of those surprises you the most? The dating the girl or Nebraska? And I was like, okay, that could be the joke. And I did it on stage and eventually it became strong enough that I can move it to the beginning.
The beginning. Nice.
That's really great.
I mean, I think that's the funny thing with you is it's like that shock factor. Like, I was telling you before about the joke with your parents and stuff. And like that to me, I will never forget. Like I was laughing so hard. And because I met you at Tannen's Magic Camp and you did your show there. And like, what a place to do your show first. Like
that's the toned down version.
Yeah. It's you're like 12-year-old kids or something there, and I'm laughing so hard, and at the same time I'm like, I don't think that kid there gets any of this.
Right. Yeah, my whole goal is as long as the kid, if the kid doesn't get it, that's okay. As long as there's nothing like inappropriate for the child. Yeah. But yeah, it's every joke sort of comes from you in some way, and it for me like my building the magic act just is about finding out what I call a blockbuster joke, like a joke that has a lot of meat on its bones and gets consistent, like hard laughs. Like it's not a throwaway one-liner. It's like a piece. And then at that point I go, what could I do with the audience or what does that lead? Like with the Price is Right joke, being like, I want to play a game of Price is Right with the audience. Yeah. That's weird. That's where that leads. And then figuring out how the hell that happens. But that's where that's sort of the process for a lot of these things.
Nice.
Yeah, it's interesting because usually, I mean, I feel like this is like such an old like cliche thing to say, but usually when someone says that they're a comedy magician, it's because that they weren't like funny enough to be in comedy. Or
right. The joke is comedy magicians are comedy magicians because they're not good enough at comedy or magic, so they combine the two and hope you don't notice.
Yeah. Whereas you're someone who has actually forged a career entirely separately in comedy and has been able to be successful in that world on things like Last Comic Standing and, many other, different appearances on TV shows and things.
For those who don't know me, I've been eliminated from all of your favorite reality television shows. Very good.
Sorry for bringing it up.
Eliminated. Last Comic Standing, eliminated. Fool us. They taped me, didn't even air me. That's just me being more efficient at being eliminated.
Eliminated from a show you didn't know you could be eliminated from. He sets records in these streets.
When I got Cohen, I'm like, he can't vote me out, right?
There's no X button.
You've now been kicked off Magic After Dark as well.
No.
And see ya. No. But that's something interesting because obviously in comedy, and the experience performing comedy is very different from the experience performing magic, like the emotions that you evoke from the audience and things. But I think one thing that's been brought up before, and we've talked about it with a few other people, we talked about it with Eric Leclerc, we talked about it with Aussie, is the fact that I mean, magic, you're showing people things that shouldn't be possible. So it evokes something naturally. It's going to freak them out in the very least. And especially if you're performing in front of an audience, if you're doing magic, you'd hope that, it should just freak people out. Whereas with comedy, comedians have the experience of bombing and trying a joke all the time and that not working out. Do you feel like that's shaped your process as a magician and how you create, or just you as a performer? Because I feel like you have to, a lot of magicians, even professionals, don't have the experience of really bombing in the same way that a comedian does.
Oh no, they're just delusional.
Yeah.
Magicians bomb just as much as comedians. They just walk on stage and they're like, I killed it.
Right.
But here's the thing, is like a magician technically could buy their show, right?
Yeah.
And still get on stage and do a decent show, because
they're cover bands.
Yeah, the audience has no idea that what they're seeing was just bought at Tannen's or whatever, right? Or on Penguin or something like that. But with comedian, you like have to go up, and if your trick, or not your tricks, if your jokes bomb, I mean, obviously there's magic that bombs as well. If you got on stage and did everything wrong, that would be terrible. But people will always say you don't really see a great magician. Like, people will go, oh, this magician is so good. And it's like, well, you've never seen this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy to really judge if that person was good, right? But I feel like more people see comedians on a regular basis.
Yeah, people are definitely more comedy. They have better comedy education. They watch Netflix specials. Yeah. And there's definitely a culture amongst comedians where it's about original material. And if you get caught stealing, like, your career's over. And that should also be the case in magic.
Well, because I remember I messaged you. I saw the one guy, he was on like the Tonight Show or something. It was like a year and a half ago. And I sent it to you because I was like, Harrison, this guy is telling your jokes. I was like, I watched it and I was like, Harrison had this years ago. I was like, this is your joke. And you were like, yep, that happens. It sucks. But yeah. Yeah,
I mean, that it's so weird that in magic, in most art forms, like at least the successful comedians are all writing their own stuff. So it's making them successful. Yeah. Do some of them have writers here and there? Yes. But the idea is most of these guys, the process is they're writing their own stuff. And if you found out your favorite comedian didn't write their own stuff, you'd be disappointed in them. Yeah. There's an expectation there. But in magic, 95% of magicians are cover bands, acting like they're the bands who wrote the music. And then there's maybe 1 to 5% of people who are actually creating stuff. Yeah. So the amount of just, it's just crazy. My big sort of fight with the You Are All Terrible lecture is trying to explain to the magic community that it's not okay. Either you let that happen and magic is not an art form, or magic is an art, and then your job is to create original stuff. And most of the excuses, if you keep picking away at them, are like, it's hard, it takes a lot of time, I don't know if I can do it.
Those aren't don't do it.
Like, don't do it. Yeah.
Writing jokes is also hard. Like,
where people are like, well, I bought the trick though, and I did it at a bar mitzvah and people loved it. Stealing money is also, it's probably easier than having a job, but doesn't make it right.
That's hilarious. Yeah. No, 100%. It makes sense. And I think you see that, but I think we see that as well, is like the people that are original and are doing their own things are the most successful people in magic. Because like when an agent goes to hire you or something like that, or, if you're doing cruise ships and stuff, hundreds of people send them audition tapes, right? And it's like, oh, I do the same thing every single other person does, right? Those people aren't getting picked for those opportunities, right? So,
well, I mean, I think that it's yes and no. Like, there's also a lot of people getting opportunities just because they're better with marketing and things. I mean, you think about all of the biggest social media magicians, and you compare that to like who's actually creating material,
Yeah.
And but there's also like TikTok comedians who have tons of TikTok followers, but if you put them in a comedy club, would eat it.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, and they're just.
But it's about. I mean, it's weird to see people who are like, I love David Copperfield. I want to be like David Copperfield when I grow up. and then they just do David Copperfield's tricks.
Yeah.
No, that's the model that he has set for you, is that he worked his ass off creating original tricks with original music that he would, he has scores written for himself. Like when you see somebody do David Copperfield's score, we're like, I'll get an email from an adult saying, can I use your random number song during my trick? Are you out of your mind?
No. Harrison, I was going to ask you that. We've got a segment in the show. We were just wondering if we could use your random numbers.
Yeah. Although, by the way, a good friend, Adam Parisi, wrote, why did Random Number Song website go away?
Yes,
it didn't go away. Randomnumbersong.com, baby. It's up and
randomnumbersong.com is still around?
Hell yeah. I had to redo it.
I've visited this many a time.
Yes, I'm still paying for this.
Yes, I still own this domain.
Yeah.
100%.
He is absolutely correct.
There it is.
There we go. Random number song.
I became friends with I did a show just before COVID in Pennsylvania, and I was actually going over there to consult for a cruise ship show, and ended up doing a show at a comedy club, and I was just opening, doing mentalism, and so it was great because the comedy club obviously had never seen mentalism, and it was an opportunity for me. Like usually I'm doing pretty serious shows. And so I'm on a comedy club stage. I was like, just let it all out. And it was so much fun. Like it was crazy. But so I became really good friends with the comedian who was headlining that night, Rondell Sheridan, who was like the dad in That's So Raven.
Oh, nice.
Which I was like, I watched that show when I was a kid. I was like, whoa, hang on a second. You're the dad. I was like, this is crazy. But I said to him that night, we went back to the hotel and we had dinner and stuff together. And I said to him, I've always wanted to do comedy, which is funny because people are always like, oh, you're a mentalist, like you play a very serious role and stuff. But to me, it just showed like we get on stage as magicians or mentalists and we have something to fall back on. Like, even if you
can hide behind the magic.
Absolutely. I mean, that was what changed. There was a moment in my career that really changed my entire trajectory, which was I was barking for stage time, which is when you stand out on a corner and you hand out flyers. And after 2 hours of trying to get people to come to the show, you get 5 minutes on that show where you see some of the people you can see, like, remember me? I'm the corner guy.
That's amazing.
You have 5 minutes at the end of the show, and but you get stage time as much as you can. So I'm about to go on stage and I'm stuffing sponge balls in my pocket, and a comedian sees me doing it and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I do magic, so I figured if the jokes don't work, I have something to close. This way, I close on something really strong."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Take those the fuck out of your pocket." He's like, "You'll never learn if you have a safety net. The only way to get good at stand up is to do it where you live or die by your jokes."
Yeah,
that's how you actually do stand up, is like you go on stage, and it's also that's what makes it such both a blood sport but also an adrenaline rush, is you're holding a microphone and you're gonna live or die by your jokes alone, just pure wit.
Yeah, and
it's unbelievably exciting when it works. That's why the high is so high. But had he not told me about that, I don't know what would happen. Like me being able to go on stage and just do stand up made me such a stronger comedian. And it took me years before I ever was like, okay, I can push them together. But there was, years, the Comedy Cellar, which is the best comedy club maybe in the world, I worked really hard to make sure none of them knew I even did magic. I just wanted to be a comedian that they respected.
Yeah.
Because it's the best club in the world with the best comics. So I wanted them to know me as a comic. Later on, I'd be like, okay, I show you a trick. Somebody would know, and I would show something. So once I'd established myself for years, then I felt comfortable sharing it. But for a while, it felt like the way a preschool teacher would treat her burlesque career. Like you keep the two workplaces separate, and then you shove the pasties in a duffel bag in the back of your closet.
It's funny because I feel like I started out doing big illusions and stuff, or working with an illusion show. And it was like you get on stage and either myself or another magician with these huge illusions, it's like dance around, music, da-da-da, cut the woman in half or whatever, and you're done. And you rely so much on the illusion. And then I was like, I hate this. And then I started doing mentalism. I was already doing mentalism, and then I went into mentalism. So I figured like that is like putting away most of the magic, and now I'm dealing with pieces of paper and envelopes and pencils and stuff. So I feel like mentalism is so close to like getting on stage with nothing that it's like
I can tell you.
Just next time, just throw away the piece of paper.
I know it feels close, but it's very far. It's like that time you almost slept with a model.
Yeah.
I thought it was close, but you worry.
Yeah.
Just really far.
But no, but that's a funny. So here's one quick. So I've gone to a ton of open mics and stuff. And one of my friends was doing a bunch of them. And I want to ask you about this because I asked Rondell about this as well. And I don't, maybe I'm just a critic and I hate it, but I can't stand to see comedians bring a notebook on stage and start telling a joke and then be like, hang on, I got to read this. And I understand that you guys are
at an open mic. An open mic is the one place where you can do it.
No, I know, but I feel like you still like, I don't know, maybe because I've been on stage so many times. And before I got into doing all mentalism full time, I was a pastor. So I spoke every single weekend, writing a sermon and then getting on stage and speaking for 45 minutes without notes. Right. And so I always feel like you're on stage at an open mic for 5 minutes. How are you not able to memorize 5 minutes of like your punchline? Like this is something that you've written down. So you had to be working on this. So I don't know. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just, like I said, maybe I'm a critic and I'm hard on it. But I just like, I can't imagine a magician going on stage and being like, I just got this trick. And so let me read the instructions while we're doing this, You
mean the plot to Vanishing Bandana?
Yeah.
There's a few tricks where that's the plot. Yeah.
By the way, when I try to explain to comedians what's so fucked up about the sort of approach to originality and material in the magic community, the Vanishing Bandana is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Because not only did the magician not come up with the bit, not build any of the props, didn't even record the CD that came with it. So they're literally just miming to a script they didn't write, getting laughs that they have literally no agency in. They're not even performing the jokes. They're just robots acting out stuff. And then the magicians will come along and say, oh, no, I didn't do it with a CD. In my act, it's an MP3 player, or in my act, it comes from Spotify.
Like, oh
Still not changing the fact that you wrote none of it.
Yeah.
So that's like a really good example of why most magicians are cover bands and not original artists.
Not respected by comedians for the most part.
Yeah.
I think they understand that.
But basically, I mean, I've seen like somebody like a Chris Rock or, these big comics where even at the Cellar, because for the Cellar, that's a workout room. Because their main goal is Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Like you can tell where you are. Like for me, I'm like, I got to bring my A game. This is the Cellar. Like this is the best. I gotta, but I think it's okay to bring your notebook as long as you're not like the whole idea is you're looking at your set list. So and I don't begrudge a comic, especially a new comic. Eventually you have to stop using the notebook. If there are comics who use it so much that it's a crutch and they don't know how to perform without it.
Well, I think that's for me. I'm like, I want to hear you. Like, I'm here to see you.
But even an open mic, it's the difference between going to a basketball game and going to like the gym where the basketball players work out. You can't have the same expectations, right? Like if you go to a basketball game and the guy is like not giving his all and he's just lifting weights, you're like, what?
What do you do with those dumbbells on the court?
What are you doing, man? What? You're on a treadmill? Just play the game.
Yeah.
That would be weird. But like an open mic is the gym, so it's like.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You don't have to dress up and you don't have to. So if a comic is trying to be efficient and it's just like, all right, I need to get through 5 topics and I want to make sure I don't waste. Because the worst thing you can do when you have only 5 minutes is waste 10 seconds figuring out what the next joke is. So if they're doing it by going like, okay, my next joke is eels. Great.
Yeah.
So so I can give them that. But the other thing is like magicians should be doing that. It blows my mind. Like a magic trick is never done on the first performance. Like the idea, you see people Facebook with like, I've been developing something for years. I finally did it on stage. And this trick is like, as if that was, once they got it on stage, it's done.
That's it. Yeah.
That's when the process starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, the weird thing is, even if a trick is very expensive, and I always encourage people, like, if there's a way to build a sort of a DIY version of a trick to test it in front of an audience first before you spend $3,000 on the electronics that you need or whatever it is. Like, once it's in your act and you know it's going to be in your act for a long time, by all means, invest the money and buy a backup so that if it ever breaks, you have a backup of it.
Yeah.
Like, by all means, go for it. But like, there are tricks where I've done it 10, 20 shows, maybe even more. And then I go, no, I got to put this away. It's not going to get there. Because that's what happens with jokes. You go, all right, I've done the joke enough times. I've really tried it every possible way. If it's not going to hit, I need to put it down and come back to it. But at the moment, it's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Notebook thing reminds me of like the Seinfeld documentary, A Comedian, where, I mean, even he was going to the comedy clubs and then bringing out his notebook and go, oh, where am I?
Yeah. I mean, also, like, when those guys are working on 45-minute sets and they're juggling a ton of material. Well, Jim Gaffigan is unbelievable. When he comes, we've done so many shows together, and when he shows up, it's with like a stack of just written out notes, just a stack of, and he's running through them and crossing things out, and it's super technical. And you're like, of course that's his strategy. Like, in hindsight, it makes sense. His whole thing is about taking a topic and then blowing it out for 10 minutes. And that requires like a level of detail and meticulousness that, it's got to be written down. You've got to be really like Seinfeld is a similarly, it's a science project.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the thing that bugged me. Well, I mean, and now, I mean, obviously you've talked about it, and like I said, I asked Rondell about it as well. So I was interested to hear your take on it. But that was my thing, was like, I'm like, these guys are only doing like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I'm like,
but also they're comics, so they're running around. This is their third mic of the day, so they're shot.
Yeah, that's
just like, all right, I'm just gonna go. Okay, Eels, Oscars. Whatever. I'm not sure. Now I'm reading.
That might be in New York City, but that might not be in Brantford.
Maybe fair.
They sat on their friend's couch all day and like they slept on someone else's couch. Like it, there was one guy that always seemed to be at every open mic, which was good. I mean, he's trying to get it in, but he's like every show was like, I'm sleeping on that guy's couch for this week and stuff. And I was like,
there's always crazy. It's like when I would do open mics, there was always one guy who was not there for his comedy career. He just didn't want to go to therapy.
That's it. I was like,
and he would just
maybe your
like the crazy oldest guy.
Oh my God.
I was like, you are this close to homeless. This is not working for you. Like,
or they would have a bag of like weird props. Like I much respect to Carrot Top. Like, I think what he does is very funny and cool. But we're talking about a guy who's just like, these are the newspapers that he peed in. And now he's gonna fold it into it. You're like, what is
like, what is going on right now? Is this comedy?
I watched a thing on Carrot Top recently because they thought when Carrot Top went to Vegas that he would be in and out like a light, right? Like he was like, you're not gonna make it in Vegas. You're a prop magician. And most comics, or prop comic, not magician, but most comics don't respect prop guys. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, it's weird. I think most comics feel about Carrot Top the way they feel about magicians, which is on a group level, maybe not. But then when you talk to any comic individually, they're like, that Carrot Top guy is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I love magic. And they think that no one else does. So they whisper it to you. I love magic.
That's amazing.
And also, they don't hate. And yes, there is a purity that some comedians will say, it's got to be just jokes, and it's not fair if you end with a guitar, or it's not fair if you end with juggling or a magic trick or anything, because you're playing a different sport.
Yeah.
It's not a fair game if everyone's playing basketball, but somebody is wearing, has a pogo stick.
Yeah. But is there a hatred because they can't do that? Is there like a jealousy thing where it's like,
yes and no? I mean, they're right to the degree that, like, let's take a guitar comic, for example, or let's take a magic trick. Let's do that. That's even better. Cause I've been that. If you do a magic trick at the end of your act and it's good, they are going to clap, whether it's the funniest bit or not. They're going to make sounds.
Yeah.
And those sounds are not necessarily those sounds are like, wow, that's an impressive skill. Not necessarily, we love what you're doing, but that's so impressive. Wow, there are people who will beatbox or they'll do a dance thing, and they're getting a lot of clapter because of the skill that they're showing off.
Yeah.
So it's there is that element to it. But also most of the time when they see other magicians, they see magicians in the comedy clubs, the first time they see a magician, they're like, wow, magicians are great. The second time they see a magician in a comedy club and it's the same bits but a different performer, like it's the second guy to do vanishing bandana, color match, and something else.
Yeah.
They go, oh my God, these guys don't write anything. Like I spent 10 years learning how to write jokes and come up with original material, and this guy walked into a magic store. And at that point, any air in the balloon is let out. So I can totally sympathize with why they're like, fuck that. No, like I'm not going to go on stage with somebody who's not putting in the work.
Yeah.
So there are prop comics that they're leaning on the props. But then you got like a Carrot Top where like, this is really, there's a great clip of a prop off between Carrot Top and Mike Bent, who's a magician, Boston based, also a professor of comedy at Emerson.
Nice.
And it's amazing. It's magical. They're both really good.
That's the thing is like, Carrot Top has absolutely killed it in Vegas. Like every time people go and see a show, they're like, best show I've seen in Vegas. And
this show, I might argue, is in some ways harder than doing just stand-up. Because if I come up with a joke, I can immediately go on stage and try it. He has that almost magical element, which is he comes with a joke, then he's got to go to the workshop and build the giant sandal or whatever.
Yeah.
Just to test it, just to see if it's good.
Yeah. That's
and then he's got to load up every box. Imagine if every joke in your set was another prop. It's like insane.
That is true.
Yeah,
it's true.
And having it's great that he's able to be in one spot and just stay in Vegas instead of needing to like tour with just like
I think that
giant
helps
warehouse worth of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, as a New York magician, I don't know if you guys feel the way you guys drive, or do you guys take public transit mostly?
No, I drive. Yeah.
I think magicians who drive have different shows than magicians who don't. As a New York magician, if they want to put something in their act, in general have to lug it on their back or lug it on the subway.
Yeah.
And so we're loath to add a giant prop to our set.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many New York close-up magicians and Chicago close-up magicians and Los Angeles illusionists.
Yeah. But that's why, like, when I was working with the other guy, he carried 23,000 pounds of equipment to every show. Like, we had 6 staff. We had a huge cube van and stuff, all the lighting rigs, everything. Like, it was his own tour. But at the same time, I was like, and so he's paying all of us to be there, paying for all the gas, paying for the vehicles, paying for dinner. And I was like, you're not making enough money to do this.
Right.
And I was like, I want to create a show that I can fit in the trunk of my car. And if I need other people, then they can still fit in the back seat and the front seat, and we can go anywhere in the world. And so that was always my goal, was to make the show pack as small as possible, even though I have a car. It was like,
when I was living in LA, I was able to leave magic stuff in my trunk. I was like, this is the
best. Yeah, it's the best.
Because I could leave my backup stuff in the trunk and just take what I need into the venue. And if something broke, I can go out to the car. But I didn't have to bring a giant suitcase into the venue that has my entire life in it.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, Harrison, throughout the episode, we'd like to do a couple different segments. And we've been going for a little while now, so I think it's got to be time.
I think it's time for us to find out a little bit more about you, Harrison.
A little bit about you.
Is it time for naked dancing?
Random dancing. No, here, let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It's time for 20 questions. It's time for 20 questions. Yeah, it's time for 20 questions. It's time for 20 questions. Yeah, put 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes on the clock. Put 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes on the clock. Here we go.
I was waiting to see you dancing, Harrison.
That has a random number feel. I love it. That's the lyrics. There's lyrics.
You like that? You like that?
Yeah. Who sung it?
That was me.
Wow.
Yeah. We
a real single threat, Ryan.
There we go. There we go. Wait till the other one.
Just magic.
Just magic. And we lost Blaze. For some, Blaze has disappeared.
We have 2 minutes, so you're saying you could have sex twice during this segment.
That's it. Go. Ready, set. No, so we're going to ask you rapid fire questions about yourself. We try to ask you ask you to answer honestly. We get a lot of magicians.
And quickly, I assume.
Quickly, yeah. But we get a lot of magicians that are just like, who's your favorite magician? You. And it's like, no, I'm not your favorite magician.
All right.
Maybe. But yeah, we just always ask now to try and make it as good but quick answers as you can.
Here we go.
And we'll see if we can get through all 20 questions.
Let's do this. All right. So, you ready for question 1, Ryan?
I am.
And your time starts now.
Favorite color?
Red.
Biggest pet peeve?
Bad spelling grammar.
Where did you grow up?
Woodmere, New York.
What always makes you laugh?
Oh, getting kicked in the nuts. Not me, though. Not if I'm kicked in the nuts, and not if it's a friend. But
what's your secret talent?
Secret talent? Oh God, my secret talent. I know I have a scuba diving license.
First time you ever saw a magic trick?
My first memory of a magic show is Lynn Dilly's. I saw her in a theater with my grandma and mom.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh man, invulnerability? The power to wish for more powers?
Dream performance venue?
Oh God, Madison Square Garden, although I already did it.
You did it. Yeah, most cherished memory.
Just most cherished memory?
Your most cherished memory, yeah.
I'm sure I had a heartfelt moment with my grandma at some point.
Favorite food?
Favorite food? Oh God, I guess sushi's pretty great. Pizza, bagels, anything that's good.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? It was Pulp Fiction for a really long time, but I gotta say The Lion King.
Favorite pizza topping?
Oh, my guts say a mushroom.
Favorite magician?
Oh God. I mean, Amazing Jonathan is pretty up there because he was a huge influence when I was a kid. So let's say Amazing Jonathan. But I love so many.
If you won the lottery, what's the first thing you'd buy?
More lottery tickets. I would probably buy an apartment.
What's your most highly recommended magic product or book?
My book, You Are All Terrible, the book coming out soon.
Nice. All right. You made it through 15 questions.
God damn it.
So,
not bad.
Pretty trash.
I know what's crazy is question 16 is how long is your penis? So I'm kind of glad.
Yeah,
I ran the clock out.
You just missed it.
Jeez.
Woo! My answer would have been Jewish.
Dominic says
Jewish.
You know what? It has been described by past lovers as reasonable.
As reasonably Jewish.
No, just reasonable.
I think that's what Harrison
Reasonably
said.
Jewish sounds like an insult. Canceled. I'm just going to do it myself. I have a big fan.
Whoa. He said it, not me.
Can we sustain this bit for 30 seconds?
Keep it going. Is he going to drop the bass?
There it is.
All right. Special effects.
I couldn't understand any of the words.
I think it's German.
It's German.
I'm pretty sure.
It's an Amazon buy for sure. That's awesome.
I thought that after our conversation you had like a Jewish button, and then it turned out to be the exact opposite.
Yeah. This is a gift from Emily Gillette. So shout out to Emily. This is a great gift.
Emily.
I use it all the time. There's something very nice about having just a dance party button. You just hit it, and then dances happen.
The Oberdans, wow.
I don't know about
So
you.
good.
My cheeks are hurting right now. It's like my face is just
Which
more and worse.
step?
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't be sitting on that spoon, Ryan.
This chair is terrible. Yeah, it's absolutely.
The chair's over there. What are you sitting on?
Oh my God, we're losing Dominic D. He's the only thing keeping us going.
Dom D.
Dominic, no.
Not the Dom.
What could you be doing?
You gotta
at
go.
11:21,
See you,
Dominic. How dare you? You
We're
can't
gonna
leave.
miss you.
No, Dominic, I refuse.
Dom, after your drive-by, you're just gonna hit us with that.
Yeah, after
He has
the
to
brag
whoosh
button.
out of here.
Yeah.
We hope that you do it yourself.
Ethan and another person keep saying this feels like Larry David. Is that just
Is
the level of Jewiness that I am bringing forth?
just emerging the Larry David energy, absolutely admitting it.
So let's talk about your. Since you said Madison Square Gardens is your dream.
No, Dominic, you're not sorry because you're leaving.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry.
Dominic, what you got going on right now?
We're going to
Sleep?
take Dominic into staying for 4 hours.
Dominic, it's 11:20 at night. What are you doing?
Dominic, if you are going to sleep right now, think about it. Instead, invite your parents into the room and watch the rest of the episode.
Yeah,
it's a better choice.
It is Wednesday night. You cannot be doing anything important on a Thursday.
You can substitute Magic After Dark for sleep.
Yeah.
He's hanging out and waiting for tragic magic
Oh,
fodder.
boy.
Oh wait, I know what that is. I know about this. I know about this.
So
I thought Tragic Magic had Fight Club rules.
We can't talk about it anymore, okay?
Yeah,
I shouldn't have put it on screen. I made a mistake. All right.
What were you thinking?
Quick, talk about something safer. The Illuminati.
Would you? I think that this would be a great time, though, for us to, since you brought up the Madison Square.
That's right. What a big accomplishment I had.
Yeah, we got to tell people about this because
Yeah,
this
right,
was
right.
the most
Yeah.
epic magic show at Madison Square Gardens.
I mean, history making.
I remember when I talked to you, you said this was the most expensive magic show ever done in New York City.
It will go down in the annals of New York magic history. That's right. It's annals.
Yeah, it's
ANNALS. It's the annals of New York magic history, and
It will go down in the annals.
it will go down in the annals of
We'll
history.
go down in the DMs and then done.
No, right before the pandemic, I sold out Madison Square Garden, and I put on the most expensive and elaborate and extravagant illusion show ever attempted in New York City, if not the world. There was dangerous escapes. You got big illusions, fire, levitations, ventriloquism, juggling. You got mind reading, celebrity cameos. You got everything you could ever ask for. And I figured because I am such a trendsetter and because I'm so ahead of the curve, that the best way to record it would be to just release the audio of this highly visual show. So yeah, you won't believe your ears, but it definitely happened. And the proof is the 40 minutes of sounds that we managed to capture.
Now, I'd like to play a segment from this show.
Oh, perfect.
Everybody, feel for it. This is my first time listening to this.
All right, this is the variety portion. For those who are listening to this portion, I'm going to reference Beyonce, who was not only at the show, but was my assistant for the trick preceding it. She did have a little bit, she has like a show coming up, so she doesn't get to speak very much on the album, but she does whisper to me, and then I say what she's saying, which is basically as good as her saying it.
Yeah,
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah, and she does sing though, and I got to tell you, she sounds. This is unbelievable, but Beyonce is so good. She sounds exactly like the album. Like you would not know it wasn't the album. That's how good she sounds when she
in
sings.
person, yeah, I can believe that. I mean, I've seen her on like
Queen B.
yeah,
With King H.
every
Right.
award show she sung on. I mean, it sounded like a CD as well. So
Yeah. So this is me going from Beyonce to showing off the other skills that I learned. I learned a lot of skills in order to do the show. This was decades in the making.
Here we go.
She's a true triple
you hear
threat,
that?
singer, dancer, and magician's assistant. That's Beyonce. By the way, not to brag, but I'm a sextuple threat. Thank you, Beyonce. I knew you'd back me up. It's hard to hear her, but you have to know that she was there. And practicing everything that has gone into this show. I've also invested a lot of time and effort into a few other fun talents I've never shown off on stage before. And now, a full decade after I began, it's time to show you what I've learned. Let's start with juggling. Very impressive. It probably won't surprise you that I can juggle a few balls, but now let's get it up to 4. All right, now 5 years of practice here, and screw it, 6, 7, 8, 9, and yes, a baby. That's right. Don't worry. Oh, look, it lulled her to sleep. Incredible, incredible. And now, trust me, I'm a professional. Okay, I got this. Look out for the chain turn. No, not near the baby. I can do this. I can do it. Yes, we've done it. That is juggling, folks. Yes. And you know what else I've been working on to get to an extraordinary level? Mime. Yeah, ready? Check this out.
Oh my God.
I mean, I really worked on this mime work, and so I feel like this is a good way to preserve it. If you listen very closely on the album and you turn up the volume, you can hear the audience's reactions to what's happening. Oh yeah, there's some audience. At this point, I'm miming a box so well, I'm walking upside down on it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's going from box to box.
And then what better medium to record a mime performance than a CD? And last, but certainly not least, after 3 decades of practice, a brief demonstration of ventriloquism. Ventriloquism. It's hard to do ventriloquism when you don't have video, but
It's a different experience.
And can you believe this? I do the voice of the puppet too. That took years to get right. All right. Why are you so far away, buddy?
Because every time we work together, you stick your hand on my butt.
Buddy, there are children here.
I mean, why eat dinner first?
Okay, we get it. Clap if you want to see Buddy. All right, here we go. I'll go grab it. Yep. Oh, okay. Got it. Put it on the thing. Yep. All right. Put it. Shut the thing. Okay. Buddy, everybody. Everybody loves Buddy.
Oh, yes.
All right. This isn't a ventriloquism show.
You can say that again.
Stop it. Okay. I'm going to drink this huge glass of water, which everyone here can very clearly see, and you're going to sing, okay? Very hard thing to do. Here we go.
Let me play among the stars. Let me see what strangers like on Jupiter and Mars.
That's so good.
In other words,
All right. That's funny. That took years. 3-4 decades of practice.
Thank you.
This is outstanding.
The funny thing is, you've already sent this to me. I could still laugh about this every single, just thinking about this. It's like so good.
There's a dangerous escape. There's the world's most adorable puppy. There's mind reading. It's got everything.
Yeah.
Really, you guys got to check it out. You've absolutely got to check this out. Now, people find this this audio file. Where can people?
So you can basically download or buy this album anywhere you download or buy albums. So if you go to orchid.co, orcd.co/livemsg, you can get it from Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora, all the places. So feel free to buy it. That's cool, or just stream it. But it is out, and definitely happened.
That's great.
I didn't just do it in my apartment and nearly waterboard myself trying to capture the audio.
You absolutely did not waterboard yourself in your
No,
apartment.
I absolutely didn't. Almost choked to death in my own apartment alone. What a horrible way to die.
Yeah, that was definitely 10 years of practice for
At least.
yeah.
I would say at least 40 years of practice, and I'm not even 40.
That's true. Yeah. I mean,
So it was orcd.co/livemsg.
There it is.
You can
Yeah.
find it, absolutely.
Go get it.
Go get it.
And we're going to be selling one of the good things is when I did the show, we had a lot of VIPs, obviously Beyonce. So we had VIP badges for them. And I actually went into the closet and I stole a whole box of them because they print them up just for the show.
Yeah.
Because these shows make, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So they printed up a bunch. And so those tags, they also have the album information on the back, which is weird that I already had the album information, but I'm not going to question Madison Square Garden. That there's a free download code on the back. But we're going to sell those, the actual VIP passes, which come with the album for free. And you get a cool VIP pass that absolutely comes from a closet in Madison Square Garden.
That's incredible.
The place that I performed.
Outstanding. Yes, well, where you sold out. Yeah.
Sold out. Oh, yeah.
Not just performed, but sold out.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't sell yourself short, Harrison.
Yeah.
Remember what you did.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the only magician to ever sell out Madison Square Gardens.
True that.
That's it.
It was weird. After the album came out, a comedian introduced me on stage at a comedy club as this next guy has a new album out called Harrison Greenbaum, live at Madison Square Garden. He sold the place out. Now he's here for you. Harrison Greenbaum. I walked on and he looked at me like, why are you in this basement?
You sold out at Madison
It's because it's called artistic integrity. That's why.
Yeah. There's a bed sheet for the curtain behind him. It's like...
This isn't even a club. It's a pizzeria with a microphone.
Yeah, exactly.
Harrison is a humble comedian. A gig is a gig.
He will do shows 100%. Anywhere.
That is so true. You know what's sad is I mentioned a pizzeria. That was where my show was today. I performed outside of a pizzeria and my pay was a slice. I've also been on national television. These things can both be true.
These can both be true. This is the journey of a comedian career. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the weird thing, right? It's like you'll have magicians who are like, I don't do a gig for less than $10,000 and I work once every 4 years.
Yeah.
My career is incredible.
Yeah.
And there's no way your material can be good if you're not performing like 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
At minimum.
Yeah.
I'm crazy, so I'm 7 nights a week, but at least 5.
There have been a couple times where I've done like a 1 or 2 night show at a venue that had a lot of new material building up to that, because it was like a stage show, and then especially the first time that I did my own like solo stage show, and there was so much new stuff, and then immediately after that I was like, this was such a mistake not having more audience like time in front of the audience. Like I really need to and also even like jokes and things, especially I was just like, man, that was really funny in my head, but it was not the same. It was really not the same.
Was it called Blaze of Glory?
Blaze of that would have been great. There's a one time for a show. There's a Colby Calais song called "Go Out in a Blaze," and I played that when I walked out. And I also immediately regretted that decision.
That is amazing.
You live and you learn.
You know that Says
Blaze of Future Past.
Says Blair is definitely putting that on his.
Says Blair is definitely going to use that song and then deep fake my face singing the song.
100%.
100%.
He's going to do a show of all escapes called Independence Blaze.
Independence Blaze.
That should be the rest of the episode is just giving Says Blair.
I could do this all day.
But
Says Blair says 100%.
He's loving this. But no, in actual reality, I think for people that are magicians or other types of performers that are interested in getting into it, we did have some gold nuggets that were dropped by Harrison earlier, that when you get in front of the audience, that is where it just begins. It's not like you've finished the bit now that you finally brought it in front of an audience and it got a good reaction the first time or something. That's where you actually begin developing it and can start revising it and making it what it actually should be. And that's why. And
it's with the data from the audience. That's the algorithm, right? Is that you do the material, the audience reacts, and then you honestly assess how they react. There's that, we call it laugh ears in comedy, where comedians hear laughter they're not getting. But magic ears is way worse, where they're like, killed it, standing ovation. You're like, you made them stand up.
Stand up.
What are you talking about?
Right? I seen one guy like tap 1 finger. Okay, 2 fingers. Okay, 3 fingers. 5.
No way. You've seen that. That's a thing. That's a thing.
100%.
That's the only way Ryan can come. But
You got to build up to it. You got to wait.
It's weird. He picked up the habit when he was like 12 or 13, and if it works, it works. Why change it now?
It's crazy though, because I've seen people open that way, or like come out and be like, "Come on, stand up, I'm here," and I'm like, "Whoa, what?
Come on, like, stand up on. You want a standing ovation before the show starts?
Before the show starts, I was like, this doesn't make like, I don't know. I've seen some stuff in Magic that is very questionable.
Sure,
yeah.
But like, it's weird to me, people with the laugh ears or Magic ears, the idea, like the worst thing, when you asked me about my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah.
My biggest pet peeve in performance and watching other performers, I'm okay if you bomb a joke or a trick doesn't go over super well once or twice. But if 5 years later, I get to see you again and you're still doing that shitty joke or trick, that's on you.
Yeah.
And it's just insane. It doesn't make any sense. Why that's literally would be the worst way to go about creating art. If you want your audience to enjoy your art, then you need art that your audience enjoys. That sounds like it's self-evident.
Yeah.
But like, let them see if they clap or laugh. And if they don't, keep tweaking it until every time you do that trick, you get the thunderous applause and crazy laughter every single time.
For sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I kind of defer to our Magic, Masculine and Devant, when they talk about art in Magic versus the art of Magic. And there are artists in Magic and there's art in Magic. But if you want to call the whole thing an art form, it's like, well, there's a whole lot of people that are just going like, this is how it was done, so I need to do it exactly the same way. And it's like, okay, well, like, where's the art in that? There was the art when the guy did it, 70 years ago. Like,
right. There's also I think it's in, what's his name? Henning Downs? No. The ham sandwich.
Why can't I don't know what you're talking about. No.
I want to say it's, oh God, it'll come to me.
Yeah.
Don't get old.
Yeah.
I hit 33, 34, and all of a sudden I'm like, what's the word? And then my fiance's like, chocolate? You forgot the word chocolate?
Forgot the word chocolate?
Like, what? But there's that thing about like, if you produce a ham sandwich, that's a good trick. But if somebody says they're really hungry for a ham sandwich and then you produce a ham sandwich, that's a miracle.
Oh, yeah,
and most magicians are somebody who saw somebody do that ham sandwich trick and they were like, fuck it, I'm doing the ham sandwich trick. And so then they just remove all the context.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is don't be that guy who sees another guy who, because the trick comes from them, is contextualized and great. The second you put in your act, it lost all of the context that made it happen.
But
So there's no way it's going to be as good.
Adam was saying, was that Magic Showmanship?
Yeah, that's it. Magic Showmanship, Henning. Yep.
But Harrison, what if they make it a turkey sandwich?
That's how originality works in Magic, right?
Oh God. Yeah.
It's just what I'm wondering. Like, if it was turkey or like hold the mayo, does that make it different?
Well, it's like when people message me all the time asking to do my material, and I very politely am like, no. And it's, yes, part of it is just like, fuck you, it's my material. But
yeah, you didn't.
You
did not email me back very politely after camp when I said, I was just wondering if I could do your show next week. You were like, yeah, I can't even repeat the language.
That was so rude of you, Harrison, to email him back so rudely.
So it was terrible. That's what I thought of that email.
Oh, why did it? Was that joke worth that water bottle's life?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was empty now.
But part of the other reason too, and I usually say it in my response, is I'd be doing a disservice to let you do my material because it should be coming from you. My material comes from who I am, and it wouldn't make sense in your act. Like, people ask me to use the random number song. It's very specific to the trick.
Yeah.
So it would be super bizarre out of context, Yeah. That's the I'm looking at all the comments. Adam said, if you aren't at least audio taping, videotaping is best every show, then how do you expect to get better? Yeah. With Magic, you kind of have to videotape, at least like, because the visual, it's the only way to see like, oh, my hand, oh, everybody can see that steel, huh? Mm-hmm. That's no bueno.
Yeah. And you're able to kind of get out of your own head a little bit and kind of look at it as if you were watching any kind of performance, and then you make notes in that kind of sense, and you're like, oh wow, there's a lot that can be improved, but like you don't really see that when you're just doing it in the moment. You don't really see everything with the audience.
And there's no way to remember that. Like there's times I come off stage and I'm like, shit, what was the thing I said? And thank God I recorded it, because I'll scrub through and be like, oh, because also my memory of how I'll remember, like, okay, I changed something about the wording that really made a big, like there was a jump. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll realize by listening to the recording that I misremembered that I moved that word here, not there. Like it literally, there's a time where I'll like change the wording of a joke. I'm doing 5 shows in a night. And so I get to the second show and I try to recreate that. And I go, oh, that didn't work. And I listen to the thing and it's like, it's one word different. Yeah. And so you need that recording because it could really come down to one word.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So here's a question. If you could only do one art form for the rest of your life, I mean, would it be magic or would you do comedy?
Oh,
I mean, his Instagram username might be telling.
Yeah, his Instagram username is Harrison Magic. No, Harrison Comedy.
But it's an interesting question because
you can follow me at Harrison Juggles.
Yeah.
Harrison Mimes.
Yeah, he's got 18 different accounts for all of his talents.
Yeah. Wow.
Don't give that Says Blair guy any ideas.
Says Blair Juggles.
Kids, oh no, that's not Simon Blaze. It doesn't work as well because it's not Says. Yeah. I'll keep workshopping it.
Simon Blaze.
Kind of. It's almost.
That one's not going in the book.
No. No. The thing is, the reason it's both a blessing and a curse to do comedy and magic and have them sort of be separate. Yeah. The curse is it's hard enough to sell yourself as one thing, let alone convince agents you can do both, or industry or whatever. So it is a harder road in that sense of like juggling the two and what are the differences. But the good thing is anytime I'm doing a lot of stand-up in a row, I'm like, I can't wait to do magic. And anytime I'm doing a lot of magic in a row, I'm like, I can't wait to do stand-up. And it really feels that way. Like if I'm running around doing tons of stand-up sets in a row, and then I finally, like, okay, I'm doing Scam. I'm going to do a bunch of magic. Great. Or like when I was doing The Illusionist or Unbelievables, which is like magic. And there's still stand-up in there. It's not, my mix is both. But like on my off night, I would go to a local comedy club in Australia and do a straight stand-up set. Yeah. And it would feel amazing because I was like, oh, cool. There are no kids, so I can curse. And I'm just doing the jokes. It was nice. So yeah, it's the art form that I prefer is whatever one I'm not doing. It's a grass is always greener. But I do love my show, Harrison Greenbaum, What Just Happened, tries to be a combo of both in a way that hasn't been done. It's a stand-up show with magic as opposed to a magic show with comedy. Yeah. So it should feel like a stand-up comedy show. It's a joke every 10, 20 seconds. Boom, 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 boom. It's all about jokes and the feeling you get from a stand-up special, but interspersed with what I hope is really strong, fooling magic. And that combination, you don't really get that, where it's that kind of constant laughter and the jokes are like that. I mean, there are a few guys, but that for me, that maybe is my happiest place. But then I say that, and then I'll tour that show for a month as I have. And then as soon as I get to I don't have to drag any shit, and I just get to go up at the cellar and do jokes. I'm like, this is the greatest. So it's really whatever audience I'm in front of is the thing that I'm having the most fun doing. How about that?
I like that.
You kind of dodged the question, but we'll
you went around it, you turned it and stuff, but it worked.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Canadians, these are guns. Too many people in our country have them. No rules here. Bang, 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 bang.
Those are hands, Harris.
Yes. No, those are handguns.
Ah, wow.
Hey,
I don't know.
The only kind of guns in Canada.
I've only fired a gun once in my life. I went to a shooting range with my best friend, and I'm very much in favor of gun control. But I will tell you, guns are it's fun to fire a gun. It's the closest you'll feel to being an actual wizard because you're holding this thing and then you just do a little small thing and then something really far away explodes.
Yeah.
And
really
you did
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Telekinesis at its best.
We shouldn't have guns. Way more gun control. But pew pew. I mean, wow.
I mean, it's really cool. Yeah.
You go to a gun range for the first time and you go, I disagree with them still, but I see why they're fighting so hard for that.
Yeah. It's funny because here in Kent, like a few years ago, well, I guess like 5 years ago, my buddy got married, and the best man in the wedding was like, text me and said, hey, what's this guy want to do for his bachelor party? I said, oh, he wants to go paintballing and stuff. He's like, well, I already got us tickets to this gun range in Canada, right? And I'm like, this guy has never wanted to shoot a gun. A paintball is like as close to this as possible. And so we went to the gun range, and I had never shot a gun before. And
it was a Canadian gun range, so it's just super soakers aimed at moose.
They put donuts.
Moose?
In the
It's
just donuts.
Just super soakers.
But
filled with maple syrup, eh?
Yeah, exactly. It's like yeah, it's bad. But it, like you said, it was crazy, like pretty neat. And then the crazy thing, so then I moved to Vegas for a little while, and I'm living in Vegas, and I go out with the other brothers, and they're like, hey, we're gonna go and shoot some stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, where? Like just out in the desert. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, we just drive down the interstate and then get off and pull on to the shoulder, and you just have to be like 300 feet from any road and you can fire guns. And I'm like, what? So literally we just go into these hills. There's cars, you could see cars still driving by and stuff, and we're shooting stuff out in the middle of the desert, I guess. And I'm like, this is crazy that you're allowed to do this.
That's the day they lost a third other brother.
Yeah. There used to be more brothers.
There were 3 of
the other brothers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nuts. Like I agree. I'm totally on your side with gun control. I think it's crazy. And that's why I live in Canada.
Fair.
So
Understandable.
But yeah. Do you think we should ask Harrison probably the most important question of the night?
I think the most, well, you mean of his life?
Story
yeah.
of his life, yeah.
Yes. Well, Harrison, you mentioned...
what are you going to propose? I'm not ready for this.
Nah, we're stealing you away from the fiance.
She didn't propose to me. It's my turn now, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Harrison, you mentioned earlier about performing for a slice of pizza, and that your favorite pizza topping was mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
But I think something in the pizza family is fitting, and we have a question for you.
Lasagna!
What's your favorite genre of lasagna? Meat.
Lasagna.
Veggie.
Lasagna.
Plain.
Lasagna.
Saucy.
Lasagna.
What's your favorite genre of lasagna?
Oh my gosh!
How many genres of lasagna are there?
Oh, Harrison! Oh, more than you'd think.
A lot. There is a lot of genres.
Are you guys lasagna connoisseurs?
We have become so.
We've become self-appointed lasagna connoisseurs.
I didn't realize I was speaking to Garfield.
And the thing is that the song is so much longer than that. The song is so much longer than that. It keeps going for like that's about less than half of the song. But I just
did you realize lasagna rhymed with genre? And you're like, I've got a bit.
It was amazing. It was that. It was pretty much because we have a follow-up question, and it started as the follow-up question. We'll ask that after we get past this one, but it started as the follow-up question, and then we were doing stuff where we would like jump on Omegle, and we would kind of just be in each other's ear on Discord, and then just be like, oh, you need to make up some kind of pattern based on this random thing I throw out. And then I was asking this follow-up question to people on Omegle, just getting their feedback. And then at some point, we just kind of were having a conversation, and then I was like, Ryan, what's your favorite genre of lasagna? And then he was like, oh, okay, I'm making a song.
Yeah, it became a song.
I love it.
So
I'm not a big lasagna boy. Nor have I ever been described as a lasagna boy. Or even a lasagna man.
Lasagna man or a lasagna boy.
Yeah, or a calzone gentleman. But because that is the gentle, because you can eat it with your hands, but also a fork and knife. The calzone feels like an upper crust.
Upper crust
It's for the upper crust.
The upper crust.
I'm signing myself off. I'll see myself out.
Yeah, that's
I never really ate lasagna that much. My fiance has been a little bit more into lasagna, and so I'm getting into the lasagna now. And I will tell you, there's a restaurant in the West Village. I think it's called La Lanterna. It's by where Monday Night Magic happens, and we would go there sometimes after the show. And they do a lasagna that's very good, and I think that is I want to say a vegetable lasagna. It's pretty good.
Vegetable lasagna.
Veggie lasagna.
Veggie lasagna. Tried and true.
So.
Veggie lasagna was in the
I was
sauce.
vegan for a while, so I gave up meat and dairy and friendship.
Yeah.
We were all in that boat. All of us have been vegan.
Do you know how we knew that? Because Harrison told everybody when he was vegan.
Yeah.
That's why it didn't last long. No one could put up with him. It's like I started losing shows.
Sad.
So, it didn't really. It worked well on at camp, but only on weekends, right? It's like,
yeah. It is weird to me that there's so many pescatarians because they're like, I can't eat animals, but fuck fish. Look at them in their dumb fluke flounder eyes. They can all die. But a cow is sacred, and I would never eat a turkey, but fuck eels. Like what?
Eels. Yeah.
It's a weird line in the sand to draw.
They wanted to see what the sushi was all about.
I don't know. I haven't necessarily talked to a pescatarian who did it for morality reasons, but I guess I've never asked someone their justification for why they say. But like,
pescatarian's got to be solely for health reasons.
It's got to be solely for health reasons because you can't be like, oh, I draw the moral line here. Like,
just fish.
This living being doesn't matter at all.
If you're soft, I will not eat you. But if you are wet, you are dead.
If you are wet, you are food.
You guys know I make card clips and stuff, and so I use leather for the card clips, and I have some pretty like
fish leather.
Fish leather. There is fish leather. But I'll make like eel or alligator and stuff like that. And so I've had so many people come to a booth at Magic Live or Magi Fest and stuff and be like, so I don't know about buying something that's leather. I'm like, well, your shoes you're wearing are leather. And then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, good point. And then they're
you're chewing on a turkey leg like it's Disneyland. What are you talking about?
You got me already. But then this is always the follow-up question. Okay, so what's the dumbest animal? Like, that's how they decide.
The dumbest animal.
I kid you not. I've been asked
I'll tell you the saddest animal. The ones that get converted into card clips. Some of them get to be really cool leather jackets on motorcycle people. But some people protect bicycle playing cards.
Yeah. David Copperfield has one. So, there you go.
Styling.
Blaze, you froze. But
I did. This is a great freeze pro. I look petrified.
It's my least favorite kind of lasagna. Frozen
lasagna. Surprisingly, we've gotten reheated microwave lasagna as a favorite genre from Colin Cloud. So
really,
yeah.
That's because he's never eaten carbs in 10 years.
Yeah. What else do we get? We got triangular cut lasagna. That was
Steve Valentine. Yeah.
Does he cut it like a grilled cheese?
Like a grilled cheese, yeah.
I tried to answer it like a goddamn human, and now I'm hearing triangle.
We were disappointed by your lack of creativity.
Yeah, we thought the comedian of the bunch would have the best answer to this question, but
I like it shaped like a dick. So this joke was going to go into an aristocrat style that still seems inappropriate. Despite the lack of censorship.
Now, let's say that you were to have a Dick Zanya and a second identical dick-shaped lasagna.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you were to stack the second atop the first, how many lasagna do you have now?
Oh, I see. So
Ooh.
it could be. It could be one lasagna because it just with double the layer.
One big dick.
One big lasagna. I think about my lasagna shaped like the man, woman, or non-gender conforming person that made it. Like, could you imagine if the lasagna shaped like an old Italian grandma and you knew it was that Nana who made it? I would like my lasagna shaped like a crying Italian lady, like a lady who just found out her son is going to be a DJ. I want that. I want the lasagna to be in that shape. Can you do that shape?
I think it could be that shape. That might,
Yeah, that's a good genre.
it's like the Pauly D grandmother's lasagna. It's like,
But if you were to have a numerical value to this old Italian grandma, would it be 1 or 2?
I guess if you really, I get. Well, it would be like if you had 2 pies and stacked up on top of each other, you'd have 2 pies.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I feel like I want to say it's one lasagna.
It becomes one big grandma.
One big grandma. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right.
All right.
Interesting.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a winner. All right.
He's a
Like your
one guy.
style. Like your style.
Interesting. Yeah. I find it very interesting who picks ones compared to our guests that have picked 2.
Wow.
Yeah. I also love the fact that we asked the follow-up question with such fervor to get an answer, and then we're just like, "Oh yeah, that's interesting." Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, one.
Oh,
Great.
yeah.
Really, we
Yeah.
just put a
Let
check
me
mark
write it
on the
down.
feed after.
We just go, all right, yeah, tally mark on 1. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You should publish a magic book, and it's just everybody's name, and it just says 1 or 2.
I think people are searching, like, what is this? What is the meaning of this? Like,
Magic lasagna.
lasagna. It's binary.
Yeah, magic with lasagnas. Could be. We are already going to bring out T-shirts for.
Can it be 0 lasagnas because you've ruined the lasagna?
Yeah.
We are bringing out a lasagna T-shirt for
Yes.
your favorite genre of lasagna. We've had so many requests.
That makes sense.
Oh my God.
People want the song on Spotify as well, which is even more fun. That people want to listen to the song. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, lightning does not strike twice unless you're Lightning Roy.
Yeah.
7
Then it
times.
strikes minimum 7 times.
7 times.
But really, that was lightning striking for us. Was
Yeah.
getting that lasagna
That
song.
song.
That was.
Yeah.
It's
That
a
was
beautiful
really-
thing. It's a
It
thing
was
of
just
beauty.
it was just a
We-
stroke of Ryan's genius. It just
No, I'm
going,
glad
I'm gonna
you
take
asked the
that line
hard-hitting
and make a
questions.
song. What
Pardon?
did you say?
I'm just glad you asked the hard-hitting questions here on Magic After
Oh,
Dark.
absolutely. Yeah.
100%. We want to show a different side of Harrison Greenbaum that no one will ever know.
I will tell you, nobody knows this much about my lasagna preferences. I will tell you that.
Yes.
This is the record.
And I mean, come on, honestly, in a comedy magic career, what is more important than what you eat after you get off stage? What kind
I
of
can tell you what you shouldn't eat before you go on stage. I only shit myself once on stage, and I'll share this story. I was going on a Valentine's Day date with a girl that I was seeing, and I had a gig that night. I asked her if it was okay. She said, "Yeah, we'll go to dinner beforehand." So the nearest restaurant that made the most sense was this like fancy Mexican restaurant, and they promised us the food wasn't spicy, but it was spicy. And then I headlined a show, and halfway through it, I felt a fart coming on. And I was like, I'm just going to I'll squeeze it out gently, and no one will know I'm on stage. And I immediately was like, this is beyond a fart. And I finished the goddamn set because I'm a fucking professional. And then I waddled off, threw out my boxers, washed my hands, and then said hello to the crowd. None the wiser.
None the wiser.
Where
Amanda
exactly-
for the rest of the evening.
Where exactly?
I had to
was
explain that to my girlfriend why I was not wearing boxers.
What venue was that at, Harrison?
That was at a show that I produced called Sage Stand Up. It was at Bar 82. We ran the show, me and Sam Morrell, who's a fantastic comic. Look him up on YouTube. Fantastic. He and I ran the show for like at least 5 years. And I would close it. He would go in the middle, I would close it. I was closing out the show.
Closing out the show with shits.
Closing it out.
I just wanted to see where it was so that if we have any viewers that have ever seen a show there, they may be able to circle back and go, I was at that show.
I've eaten at that Mexican restaurant.
You do gotta close with shit yourself. It's not really an opener, you know. I put it in the middle just to test it out.
You should just walk on stage next show and be like, I just shit myself. and then continue doing that.
What if you killed harder than you ever had in that life? The audience is like, Harrison just has a different energy tonight. Like,
I think I'm gonna have to shit myself every night. All right, here we go.
Do I have to do this all the time?
The jokes were so much better.
The jokes are so much better. I just had this pep in my step.
He's usually pretty active on stage, but he just stood there. Not still, not moving.
Stood there, his legs as tightly together as possible.
Yeah, the first 10, 15 minutes moving around like a Chris Rock, just pacing the stage like he was, but then he really drove the rest of the set home.
He's just
I've never seen someone do comedy with that look of terror out like that on their face.
That was probably what happened. I mean, I'm from New York.
That deer in the headlights look. He was overtaken by the spirit of comedy.
So good.
And by the way, if you think the front row can't smell your farts at a comedy club, they can. For sure.
Yeah, the front guys, only the people in the front understood why it took you 10 minutes to come out and meet people. Everybody else was standing there like, where is this comedian? He said he was coming out to see us. The front people were like, oh, we are beelining it out of here. That guy stinks.
Yeah.
So bad.
You just see them laughing and then just
like what?
Just that look of disgust.
Basically, it wasn't obvious from the outside. Thank God.
Yeah.
But yeah,
oh my gosh,
shit happens.
That's awesome.
Oh my God,
that's awesome.
Back to lasagna.
Back to lasagna. No, but now we mentioned Steve Valentine earlier, and he was talking about how when he decided to pursue his acting career, he wanted to be taken seriously as an actor. So he totally stepped away from magic for like a decade or something, or even more. It was like he totally stepped away from magic entirely, didn't want to be associated with it. And it sounded similar to what you were describing with the Comedy Cellar and different comedy clubs not wanting to be associated with being a magician. You started with magic prior to comedy, right? Like when you were growing up?
I was 5 years old doing magic. So always magic. And then when I got into college, I was in a Jewish fraternity, A Pi. I pledged my freshman year, and my fraternity brother called me up and said, I know you do magic and you're funny when you do magic. I produce a stand-up comedy show once a year on campus. Would you like to do a set? I said, can I try stand-up? Like, I've never done it. Like, would this be a place where I could just see if I'm any good at it? And that was my first stand-up gig ever. And I just remember a sense of freedom because I always performed, when I performed magic, I was like in khakis or a suit. I had to be very clean. I'd never cursed on stage before, ever. And all of a sudden I said, fuck on stage. That was a new thing for me. I wore jeans basically for the first time on stage. And I just had such a fun time with the whole process. And that really gave me the bug to do stand-ups. That all happened in college. And then by the time I graduated, I had started a stand-up club on campus. I was working comedy clubs and I wrote for Mad Magazine. And I moved to the city to be a stand-up comedian. And so I kept magic very, very separate.
What's the longest time that you've stepped away from magic on your pursuit of comedy?
Well, the thing is, in order to pay my bills, I would sneak off and do a bar mitzvah. So magic was never far away.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it was always, and I go to magic camp every year, and magic was always on the periphery. And some of my best friends were and have always been magicians, so there's no way to escape it. But in terms of my professional career, like what was on my calendar, it was basically all stand up for a very, very long time.
Nice.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah. You just decided that was the career that you really wanted to chase after. And then
I was like,
magic
the only
was
way
just
I can even
gonna get
have a
back.
chance at it is I need comedians to respect me as a comedian first. And then if they find out I do magic later, cool, that's like a bonus. That's another skill that I have.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to think I need them to think of me as like one of their peers. And I didn't think I could do that if the whole set was magic.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Later on, I worked it in. I used to close with a magic trick. But then I eventually I had like this epiphany. I'd been doing it for a while and it would crush. It was the baby trick. It would go through and it would get applause breaks and it had a built-in rhythm. And I realized I wasn't developing as fast as I would like to as a comic because here was a 5-minute chunk at the end of my set that was that I couldn't work on stuff. I also needed to learn how to close on jokes. It was terrifying giving that up after I started because I gotten used to crushing with this trick at the end. Yeah. This was like later on. So then I had to take that out and really like be like, no. Like you have to close with jokes strong.
Yeah. So for you, like I know obviously with magic, we're always like, okay, gotta have a great opening trick, gotta have a great ending, because it's gotta cap everything off or come full circle. Do you find that with comedy, or is it like, oh, I have a great opener, I have a great closer, and then what do I do in between? Like,
well, you have an act, so like if I'm doing if I'm recording something or like but you want to open the old like I think it was I want to say George Wallace. I want to say it's him. But there's a comic who's you open with your strongest joke and you close with a joke that's even stronger than that. So that is definitely the opening joke is what sets you up. It tells the audience you're funny. The audience doesn't know if you're funny.
Yeah.
So that first joke has to be great because it's what allows your set to be great. The closing joke is what allows them to remember that you were great. It's the thing that's closest to like when they remember it. It's a thing that they are closest to temporally.
Yeah.
So you need both, but they have different functions. When I'm working on new stuff, open strong, close strong, you can play in the middle once you have the audience on your side.
Yeah.
And being ready to ditch out like if that new joke is not working, getting back into the established material and reestablishing that relationship.
Yeah.
But the thing that's so funny about New York stand-up is you're often doing 10-minute sets. So then when you go on the road at a comedy club where like I'll headline and do an hour of stand-up and that's a different shape. It's a totally different beast than a 10-minute set. So leading up to that, you're kind of working it out 10 minutes at a time. So it's much rarer to get that 45-minute or hour-long stretch.
Yeah.
Whereas in magic, we get booked so much on these private shows where they're easily a half hour, 45 or an hour. And the hardest thing for us to do is 10 minutes.
Yeah. I almost never get booked for a 10-minute gig.
Yeah.
Like the very odd, like virtual stuff that was happening. It's like, hey, can you do like 10, 15 minutes? And I'm like, what the heck do I do in 10 minutes?
That's one trick, maybe.
Yeah. I was like, literally, I'm going to do one trick. And I was like, this is going to be stupid.
Like Conan or America's Got Talent. Conan, you get 4.5.
Yeah.
Give or take. Any late night set is around that 4.5 minute mark. And AGT, they try to tell you it's 90 seconds, but you kind of get to do 3 if they really like you, they're like, just do as much as you want. We're not going to stop you. And like, you can even air all of it anyway.
We'll just cut it after. Yeah.
Right. But like you've got for TV, especially, they're not going to give you that 15. Even Fool Us, they're not going to give you that 15.
Oh, absolutely not.
So it's a hard thing. And like, it's funny when it comes to stand up, it's hard for me to select what jokes, but once I'm there, it's like, I get to do a lot of jokes in 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to magic, if you say I'm doing 4.5 minutes, I'm like, what is the trick? And then how do I cut 2/3 out of it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's the thing that people don't realize as well. Like if you're watching a show like AGT, right? And you're like, oh, that magician was great. And it's like, yeah, but there's no patter or anything really because
you have to get right to the point.
Flying through the routine. It's like if he was to do that for a show, there would be so much more added to it, right? But
yeah.
Or you go, wow, that was so clean. I didn't see anything. Like, yeah, because they cut everything that you possibly could see. Every angle was taken out. So it's interesting that you say that. Like, just trying to find that honing in. Like you said, magicians. If you said 10 minutes, it's like that is crazy. or
10 minutes to a comedian is like, wow, I can get so many jokes in, many. I can talk about a ton of topics. 10 minutes is for a New York comic, and mostly these showcase clubs. 10 to 12 is best case scenario generally.
Here's actually, now that you say that though, if I said 10 minutes to an illusionist who's doing,
they can bang it. They can bang it.
That's a lifetime, right? Because they, like, if Copperfield was on stage and just had to do illusions and no storytelling, in 10, or Hans Klock, right?
Hans Klock would just rip through stuff.
He'd be like 48 illusions in 10 minutes. And you'd be like, I just saw every illusion ever created. But for anybody that needs an assistant from the audience or something, 10 minutes is like, oh, it's going to take me a minute and a half to get this person on stage and get off stage.
It's also weird, like the idea, Hans Klock, like I haven't seen the show, but like the idea of trying to do as many illusions as possible feels like, I bet I can fuck 100 women in 1 minute. And you're like, none of those women will be satisfied. I can tell you that.
I haven't seen the show, but yeah, that was the impression that I got from just the branding being world's fastest illusionist. I'm just going to do as many tricks as I can. And it's just like, I'm going to spring out of the deculture chair and I'm going to just run over and I'm going to just start. Here's a bunch of sponge balls.
I feel like from what I've seen, it seems like he's doing the things competently. And it's like, I get that everybody wants to have their sales pitch and their marketing, but like, if you're doing them well, slow them down. Let the audience see the work you put into these things. Hans, I'm sure, is working his ass off.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe it's a great show, but
I remember back in the day, when Hans had his first show in Vegas with Pam Anderson as his assistant and stuff. That was many, many years ago. But that show was all like story based, and it was like a storybook throughout the whole thing, right? And it didn't do well, and so. It didn't last in Vegas. But if we look at shows in Vegas, none of the shows are really story based. They are.
Copperfield is stories.
Copperfield is now.
Copperfield is stories.
And Lance, I felt like told a story with everything he did. Maybe not one like each.
But that's what I mean. One continuous story. I mean, like that's how Hans's first show was. As far as I remember,
gotcha. It's like a play.
Yeah, it's like more like a play.
Yeah.
And so if the plot fell short, is what I heard from people back then. But if you're gonna rest your hat on one hook, it better be a strong ass hook. Yeah, but that's the thing is like Copperfield has there's a lot of different stories. There's a couple of main stories throughout, but there's a bunch of different stories. So to have one story throughout the whole thing, it doesn't really fly in Vegas as far as I see. Like you look at Penn and Teller who are crushing it and stuff, and it's story for a trick, but it's multiple different, like here's a trick, right? So
but you have like your opiums and absinthe, but they all feel tied together. It feels like there's there's a dramatic something happening
there. There is with absinthe it's something there is, or even what is the one that's that I just saw that has more of a narrative. It's that's by the same people. That's like
there's
country
Opium
western.
And Atomic Saloon as well.
Yes, the Saloon. Yeah. So I feel like that one, Atomic Saloon has a lot more like narrative structure, but at the same time, it's also a bunch of random bits too.
Right. That's what I mean. Like they have so many different people doing those shows, though, right? So it's like you're looking at different people, different acts and stuff. So it's more interesting to the brain than seeing one person on stage.
Yeah. But also, I think it depends on what kind of show. Like comedians, people always talk about transition. Like a new comic, like how do you transition between jokes? And it's like you don't. You just start the next joke, and the thing that's tying it together is you. Like your perspective is consistent. So you're seeing Copperfield. The story is really this is the story of what this is some man's thoughts, and so you're seeing inside him.
You don't do this between jokes.
You come back. Yeah. Our show is a PowerPoint presentation. That's our Microsoft PowerPoint transition.
That's it. So I wonder if he went in that direction. Plus, I mean, Hans is not getting younger. I know magicians, we always bash Chris Angel, but like I saw Chris's show in Vegas and he's over 50 and he's jumping off boxes that I was like, if I had to jump off that, I'd be like, this is some pretty high crap. Like, I'm not going to jump. Like, this is stupid. I could twist my ankle, and I'm getting paid millions, and I don't want to miss work tomorrow. So
yeah, it is weird to think that some of our heroes who don't really age in our mind,
yeah,
like Teller is in his 70s.
I was going to say he's close to 70.
And he looks great, and I hope he performs for another 100 years. But it's like, in my mind, all these guys are always 30.
73.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, I mean, you would never look at him and say you're 73. And I know he's talked about not being able to do a lot of the tricks that they used to do because he just physically can't. He can't hang upside
He's
down.
73.
Yeah. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like you would assume
In
when you
7
saw
years,
that-
he will be 80 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the crazy thing is they signed a 13-year contract, so he will be 80 years old on stage.
But that's the interesting thing is if you just said, hey, would you like to see an 80-year-old magician? You would not be picturing that show. And that's a testament to how incredible they are.
100%.
Their show is so much at the forefront of the art. And as soon as you hear, oh, he's 73, you think he's, doing a starchy dove thing. And he's just one of the greats.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's continually innovating new stuff.
That's the crazy thing.
And if you're 25 and you're not innovating as much as a fucking 73-year-old, you should be ashamed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very true.
He's 73 and he's pushing the limits.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an interesting difference with magic and comedy in that sense is I don't know if there's necessarily within the comedy sphere, people that are like, I'm a comedy historian, so I'm going to just tell other people's jokes. Whereas, in magic, people are
this is my tribute to Chris Rock. And then you just do Chris Rock.
It's like, what are you doing? Whereas in magic, people are like you'll see so many people, and their tagline is I take the secrets of the past and I bring them to the present. And it's like, so you just do old stuff? That's your thing? And it's like, I mean, I understand that there is I understand the value in something like what Steve Valentine's doing. When he came on, I was like, wow, this really is opening my eyes to the fact that he's researching so much old stuff and then putting it out and releasing it to other magicians in the modern day and kind of resurrecting stuff and bringing it to a video format. I understand that within the magic community academically, but when it comes to, because then those methods can be pulled for ideas for original routines, like what Steve does. But then when you just see people going oh, I'm a historian of magic, and then they're working magicians just doing entirely material that's not their own, you're just this isn't, I mean, how are you going to say that you're an artist in magic when the artist is the person you're imitating?
Here's the thing.
There's a word for that. You're a cover band.
Yeah. But Adam just said it really well. He said, no one sells their comedy sets or jokes when they're done with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Where in magic, that is a huge moneymaker for people, right?
I call it the magic store mentality. The fact that they can buy magic is why a lot of them will steal my jokes. Because they've stolen everything else. They don't even realize. I'd like to think it's still what they're doing is terrible and wrong. I'd like to think, so I have some faith in humanity, that some of the people who are stealing from me are doing it because they don't know better. But you're hearing me right now. Now you do. Stop.
So
you're all terrible.
At this point in the show, we're going to play our numbers song.
Perfect.
Called it's 101 to 3. It's just random numbers, but that's the numbers that we picked. And so this is the perfect segue for the next thing, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It's we actually say numbers random. Yeah, that's how our song goes.
Numbers
it's
random.
Really,
number random.
number random song.
My song is blue. I don't know what you're talking about.
My song is blue. What do you mean? Yeah, I mean, it's I've seen people go oh, I'm gonna do holy moly, but I'm gonna do it my way because at the end I hole punched a card, so I do it with the exact same way with the washers, but now there's a hole in the card too. And it's okay.
I'm gonna tell the trick about my grandma.
My grandma.
The best is when it's a total lie when they're I always carried a picture of my grandfather in my wallet. and then they remove it. It's like the Wild West one. And he's holding the poker hand or whatever.
I found this
Like-
silk on my expeditions through the Orient. It's like, what?
We used to have that with kids at Magic Camp. That was like sort of the joke is you'd have a 10-year-old kid go, so on my business trip to China. And you're like, all right, time out.
Wait.
There was some great. I had to judge. I think the first day I got there, I had to judge one of the magic contests. And there's kids that flew props in, like sent thousands.
Yeah, it's a big deal for these kids.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I remember competing. It means it's the thing you wait all year. Like this, I'm going to do this. It's the most meaningful thing.
yeah. But then we had some kids that were like, I remember one kid. He looked like he was 13 years old, and he's just doing this dry slapstick poem as he's doing like cigarette manipulation. And I talked to the kid in the room because we're like giving them the critiques after, right? And I'm like, how old are you? And he's like, 17 or something like that. And I was like, I thought you were 12. Like, this does not suit what you look like to be doing this act. Like, it's so crazy.
It's funny because once in a while you have a camper who's like 12 years old going on 50.
Yeah.
Like they're like little old gentlemen trapped in these like, you know, they wear fedoras and they wear three-piece suits, even though it's the summer and they're children.
Yeah.
But I just remember we were trying to give notes to a kid and we were like, could you do it to the music that you listen to? What music do you listen to? And he, in all seriousness, he just goes, smooth jazz. And we're like, you know what? Then God bless you. God bless you.
You're like that. We can't. Like, there's nothing to say.
All right, I
This
guess
kid-
not the really
this
his
kid's
favorite.
Kids grooving to smooth jazz.
God bless this child. All right, then keep doing it.
I have my old never mind. Anyways, I was gonna say he just has his glass of whiskey and he's listening to the whole jazz.
No, it's like apple juice, but it's in a rock glass.
It's just
shaking
I
around.
have
The,
my apple juice on the rocks.
the bubblegum cigar and an apple juice.
He's got the Popeye cigarettes.
Oh my gosh,
I still remember
a distinguished
so
joke.
after I judged the first show, we're in the back room and we're critiquing these guys. And no one knew who I was really because it was my first time at camp. And I'm from Canada. And so, I mean, no one had, like, some magicians heard of me and stuff. But this kid calls me out. And like I said, I used to work with an illusionist traveling across the country and stuff. And then he's like, and there's like guys that are critiquing him as well that I don't know if they do magic. Like they're just old guys at camp that we never saw perform anything. And I'm like teaching classes and doing workshop stuff. And this kid's like, yeah, well, Ryan, how did that illusion work? I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's funny that he challenged you.
He challenged me. And then, but then like 3 days in was like, okay, can you come and show me how you would do this and stuff? And I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
But the beautiful thing about Magic Camp is legitimately, I don't know any counselor who doesn't have some kind of like insane expertise. Like that's its own magic is that if you have a question, there is a person at camp who absolutely has the answer.
Yeah. It was
Which is wild.
It was the funniest moment. We all sat after he left the room and we're like, did he just challenge me? It's like I'm pretty and the funny thing was I was the one that rated him the highest out of the group.
Oh, that's so funny.
Because I was like, wow, this kid like put some effort into this and stuff.
Yeah.
All the other judges were like, he just did an illusion and stuff. And like no thought process. He just danced and did an illusion. And I was like, well, there's some things that go into that. But then he calls me out and I'm like, I was the nicest to you. It's like these people hated what you did. Like, but yeah, fun times. Here's a question. Ask this. Do you have a favorite memory from camp?
Oh man, I have a lot. I think one of the memories that stands out, and I don't know if I can angle.
My favorite memory was your PowerPoint.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, your PowerPoints are.
Oh my god, I was just dying. I was like, this is the best moment.
Oh, I love making those things. It's my favorite. Yeah, coming up with that was really fun. But there was I'd be coming to camp every year. I was a camper, then I was a CIT, and I just graduated from school. Well, I had graduated from school and I told everyone's like, what are you doing now that you graduated from college? And I said, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. And what I found out later, they're all like, oh no, he's not going to make it. And obviously that was inside. They were very supportive on the outside. And that was the year, by the way, they filmed Magic Camp. So I'm like hosting the camper competitions, trying to get jokes in because I'm now a comedian. Between that camp and the next camp, I did over 700 shows. And I came back and they said, do you want to perform? And I said, hell yeah. And I ripped the place apart, which I'd never done before. And I did the baby trick for the first time at camp, standing ovation. And I was like, holy crap. And I remember waking up, and outside of Terry's room is the billboard. And somebody had taken out of an old Magic magazine, said the top 10 funniest acts in Magic. And they cut my face out of a photo and stuck it on there.
Nice.
And I took it with me. I have it right up, hanging up over there. People were like, that's a weird thing for you to make for yourself. And I'm like, no, it's about the camp memory.
Yeah.
But that was where I was like, okay, I think I might have a shot. And it was, so that was very salient to me. And I remember talking to Hiawatha afterwards too. And just having this conversation where I think it was him and me being like, do you want to join KTMA? And I was like, oh, me? Yes. I'm in the club. And so it was just really cool. That was really, really cool. The other moment that I remember, the first counselor meeting ever.
Oh, yeah.
And be like, oh my God, I'm on the adult side of things. But Magic Camp every year, it's just there are so many things that are just it's just like utopia. Honestly, it's for 1 week, it's just 100 kids and about 30 to 40 counselors. So it's no more than 150 people total. And everybody is there trying to make something positive happen. Like we're trying to help kids. Kids are trying to learn magic. And so all of the negativity in the world is outside of that bubble for a week. So that whole week just recharges my batteries, both as a performer, but also like you gain a little bit of faith in humanity, which is easy to lose. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, look at all these adults who are giving up an entire week of their life to help kids. There's no selfish reason for that. They're there because they want to just help and share knowledge. And it's a beautiful thing.
I think that was my biggest regret was I had to go back a day early. And I was like leaving camp and I was like, I don't want to leave. Like, it sucks.
Yeah. There's no place like it.
Yeah. Well, it's like Hogwarts, really. It's like when you get there, it's literally like a castle. And it's like, this place is crazy. But I still remember I had my first Yoo-hoo with you, Harrison.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to let you not have a Yoo-hoo.
I was like, what is a Yoo-hoo? It's chocolate milk in a bottle.
It's very good, though.
It's very good, yeah. I had a couple that night. Pretty ridiculous on the Yoo-hoo that night. But no,
you were Yoo-hoo wasted.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely drunk off you.
But literally at Magic Camp, I met so many people. Me and Denny Corby became best friends because I'm a massive Office fan. And
right, and he's basically the real life Office.
He is. His parents own the pen and paper in
Scranton,
right? That's in the opening scene. And so we became best friends. He's in my wedding next month. And so
Magic Camp, baby.
I came from Magic Camp.
It works.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you don't go to Magic Camp, go to Magic Camp because it's
Magic
Camp.
My God.
Magic Camp. Yeah.
If you're up at this time though, and you're going to Magic Camp, go to. What are you doing so late?
It will change your life. My life would be very, very different. When I would start dating somebody, I would be like, you won't understand me until you've been to Magic Camp, or at least met Magic Camp people. And I make them watch like the Magic Camp documentary.
That's awesome.
And there's always that move. I'd never taken a girl to Magic Camp, like somebody I was dating.
Yeah.
And so I think most of the counselors knew that. Emily, who is now my fiance, the fact that I took her, anybody who would bring a girl, we knew they were going to propose.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like there's a bunch of people who are like, that's going to, because the first time I actually introduced Ben to Cassandra.
Yeah.
The first time she came to camp, I'm like, it's on. It's happening. But like, yeah. And she was going to come for one day and just leave. and she ended up staying an extra night because she was like, oh no, I want to stick around. And it was so cool to like show her like this thing is so responsible for so many of the good things in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's absolutely crazy. I'm sad that like obviously this year and last year were virtual. It's still fun, but definitely not the same because that's the joy for us as well. I think as leaders is like, we do magic all day, and then at night it's like, all right, now it's counselor time or whatever, right? Like we have our counselor meetings.
Yeah, and everybody's jazzed. Like it's such a great collection of magicians. It's like a magic convention if it was only the booked acts.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody there is amazing. It's just great. I would go there with an idea and be like, hey, like there were so many counselors that I would be like, hey, can I show you this thing? And you call them throughout the year. It blows my mind that I'm now older than most of the counselors were when I was a first year kid. like the people that I first was like, these are adults and they are old. And now I'm older than them.
That's awesome.
You're like a super adult. You've leveled up beyond. Yeah.
Well, I think you fool yourself every time you're a certain age. Like I'm like 30s isn't that old. And I'm sure I'll be in 70. My grandmother, who died at 100, she was much older than my other grandmother. So she was like, she was in the Holocaust. She had kids late, whole story, Nazis, whatever. You heard about it. Definitely happened.
Definitely happened, right?
You sure about that?
I made a CD of all the sounds. And
hits party button.
That's your next release.
Oh, but why does it? Oh God, this stuff could go off the rails. But she would refer to my grandmother. She'd be like, "Oh, my grandmother's 85. She's such a kid," because she was like 93. Actually, my grandmother died at 80, so this would have been my grandmother would have been in her like 70s, and my grandmother had already been like upper 80s, close to 90. So she'd be like, oh, this lady's 73. She's like a child. And you're like, what? So like, no matter what age you are, you always think that you're not old.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I've convinced myself 30 is fine, but 40 is old. And then once I turn 40, I'd be like, 50 is ancient, but 40 is fine.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still young. You're 40.
I'm trying to think of who the oldest person at camp would be. Like Hiawatha would be up there.
Yeah,
right?
I think Bob Elliott was the oldest when I was a camper.
Yeah.
But he was the strongest man on campus, like literally the strongest. He could that was his whole thing. He was like in his 70s and he could like lift 17 kids at one. Like it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Who would swing by? Martin Steinberg would swing by. He's great. Has a great mustache.
Hiawatha has that kind of wise.
But Hiawatha's ageless. I don't.
Yeah, he has the wizard energy. He's literally like Merlin.
If he was 50, I would say yes. If you told me he was 3,000, I would say absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
He's an ageless, timeless.
He is an ageless, timeless.
He's on the Tannins group one time. I was driving, and there was Hiawatha Lane or Parkway or something, and I posted it on the Tannins. I stopped. I pulled over on the road, and I was like, I need to take a picture of this. Like Hiawatha. I was like, because you hear that name, and you're like, Hiawatha. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And then he's got a whole
it fits. It fits.
It definitely does.
Well, when you were talking about being able to do a 10-minute magic set or something, and I was like, oh, Hiawatha, understanding parameters. Like,
well, when the pandemic happened, I'm not even kidding you. Almost my first thought was, well, this is a parameter.
This is a parameter.
This is a hell of a parameter.
Yeah. Well, so the only time I ever saw because I've only been to camp once, so I saw Hiawatha perform. Well, I guess 3 years ago now, and so he had a bunch of people up on stage, and I forget if he said like, "Okay, you're gonna take my watch, put in any pocket you want," and I don't know if he was trying to use like real psychology to figure this out, but this act took like 23 minutes and he got every single one wrong until the audience was telling him like by process of elimination it can't.
He's also such a strong performer that I think it almost doesn't matter.
It was still so great. Like
he's still crushing.
Yeah,
he's just a force.
It was still great. Like we chatted about it after. Like it was so good, but It was one of the funniest / like craziest things I ever saw on stage.
It's him just going like, I'm just gonna wing it, no method, just go with my wizard forces.
I think he had everybody put stuff in envelopes, and I was like, okay, so envelopes are marked. Okay, this is good. Okay, and then it was like, it just all kind of. He was like, "You have the watch," and the person's like, "No," and he's like, "That's not what I meant. I said you." Beside, and I was like, but it was like so epically like crazy. He eventually got it all, but it was like. He just kept just hammering it.
But he was such a huge influence because he would do the KTMA standing for Keep the Magic Alive.
Yeah.
And it was like an ensemble, and it was kind of flexible. People would come in and come out. And we've flown out. I've flown out to Lynchburg, which is where he he teaches dance and different things. And we like the KTMA ensemble has flown and done shows together. So it's a real ensemble. Awesome. But it's interesting because it was always the weird show. It was always the show where you would see a guy just do doves on one night and it'd be like very classic and tight and polished. And then you would see somebody do something really out there on the KTMA show. And I think the younger campers didn't always get it. And that was kind of the point.
Yeah.
And as you would get older, you're like, oh, magic can be anything. There aren't rules. And it was a really important show to see as a developing performer because you're like, oh, there are no rules. I can just be me. Like I can just do stand up and put magic in there. And I don't have to try to there are no boxes to shove my act into. Do whatever the hell I want. And he was helping me with my solo show. And it was the first time I was doing it like on its legs at the UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, big comedy theater. Never had a magic show before. This was like a big deal from an industry standpoint of like, the UCB is allowing me to perform there because they know that I have comedy credentials. And so I'm going to be the first magic show ever. And I want to crush with this. And I was inviting everybody, telling me like, I have a show now. This is not just me doing magic. Here is my show, my solo show. And I get there and I see that it's like a horseshoe. And as I'm trying to like sort of map it out, I realized there's going to be people behind me because we've sold the fuck out of this show. There's a line down the block and around the corner. So there's no way we can keep people from sitting in these seats. And I go, Hiawatha, what do you recommend? And he just goes, confidence. Confidence, brother, confidence. And he was right. Like the only people that could have seen anything were maybe 4 or 5 people tops total. Yeah. And the fact that I so confidently didn't care made them think to themselves like, wait, maybe I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. And the fact that they were essentially behind me and just as amazed was that much more deceptive to everybody who was in front of me. So it was a really good lesson. And like as only Hiawatha could deliver it. We're just like, you sure I can have people back here? And he's like, confidence. Well, all he had to say.
He would definitely be like that, like just you feel like he's gonna pull out a stick and just
he has his stick.
Well, he has a staff.
No,
I know a wizard staff. Yeah,
but like in public, like in the general public, like if he came to your show and you're like backstage and he's like, "Don't worry, I got this." Like, Hiawatha.
He also had that very like almost Yoda-like quality in the sense that he would say exactly what you needed to hear without he wasn't going to spoon feed you. But he always said exactly what you needed to hear to do the right thing. Like he was, I flew out to Lynchburg the first time and I was trying out a new trick and it wasn't working. And I kept asking, I was trying to figure out what to do. And then we go out to the pizzeria and he goes, try another trick. This is just a free form thing. Everyone's going to do one trick, but don't do a trick that you've already done. And so that was the genesis of the random number song. That trick started in that pizzeria. Nice. And, it was because I'd like to think he kind of knew that he was like, he needs to be in a relaxed environment and just experiment with something. He's going to find it. And absolutely that was and then ironically, so I started working on that trick and it was working and I figured out how to make it end and we're doing the Magic Castle together. So Hiawatha and Mika, his daughter, and they performed a really cool musical act together. They were the early show and I was the late show. And I come in one night, I think it was like the second night, and I'd been in the hotel room all day working on the random number song. And I go, I just did the dumbest thing, but I think it's going to work. and I played the song, and they started like just cracking up, and they're like, "This is so stupid," and I was like, "Perfect." And that really like brought the bit together.
Definitely,
That's great.
So Hiawatha really has a hand in sort of
he's got a
genesis of the bit and the song.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you owe your career to Hiawatha.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot. I mean, Hiawatha for sure, and just so many. There's. I could probably point to something in my act that is the direct result of advice or knowledge shared by every like every counselor had something to do with getting me there.
Yeah, that's
It's just such a great, like, amazing environment. Yeah, I mean, everybody's so supportive, and I have so many like close friends. Even though I only did it 1 year, it was like, you know, there's people that I'm like close with now that were because of that.
Yeah, I have best friends. Like, there's so many people on my phone. The people that like are the ones that you would call if you're in trouble. A lot of them are Magic Camp people.
Yeah. That is the crazy thing. Like, I remember I was supposed to go so many years in a row. Adam was like, "Okay, you got to come out to Magic Camp," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah." And then every year, Adam would call me like a week before, and
Right?
Like, "Hey, you want to come out to Magic Camp?" I was like, "When is it?" He's like, "Next week," and I'd be like, "Are you kidding me?" And so, yeah, literally like 3 years ago, I was in New York City like a month before or something, and he was like, "Coming to Magic Camp," and I was like, "Yes, I can do it this time." So
it's funny because as your career gets better, because I take a week off every year, so the amount of money I'm losing increases over time.
Yeah, that's why I flew back. I was like,
it's more and more expensive to do it, and it's worth every penny.
I flew in the first or the second day of camp, and I had to leave a day early because I had shows, and I was like, at that point, I was like, I can't take a week off, and so.
I sneak out once in a while, like late at night. There's comedy clubs in Philadelphia that have shows.
Yeah.
So once the kids are in bed, I'll like sneak out, do a set, and come back.
Well, I'm coming next time.
Usually I'm happy to do it. Ben Zabin let me borrow his car 2 nights in a row. And there were no takers. Like, if anybody wants to come into Philadelphia with me, I'm like doing a set in the city.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're more than welcome to drive along.
I'm down. That was always like, that's when I had the most fun, is like, we pranked some kids one night. There was all these kids that were hanging out down in like, there's the one room, I forget what it's just like a lounge area down kind of downstairs and stuff. And like, I remember I had gone outside to try to scare them through like with the windows and stuff, and just doing stupid stuff like way late at night. That is like, okay. But yeah, just hanging out, jamming and stuff. That's what I took away from camp, obviously, because I wasn't in classes, but and I mean, I taught the advanced close-up class, which was hilarious because at least it was the junior, like the younger. I was like, so I don't do too much close-up magic anymore, like I used to. I'm like, Blaze could teach it, but so I'm with Adam. What's Adam's last name now?
You know his new solo show, Happy Blaze. That's right. I've been thinking about it for an hour and a half.
Right. Trying to think of more things that rhyme with days and blaze.
Days? Yeah.
Blazed donuts.
Graze?
Oh, there you go. You know, Says Blair is now doing a donut with your face on it. For sure.
Catching some blaze.
The amount of texts I get on 420 is outstanding. It's ridiculous.
Fair.
Yeah.
And you should forward every single one to your parents.
And so that was the thing. Like, I don't think I've ever said this to Blaze, but when Mike first introduced us, and he's like, "Oh, my buddy Blaze," and I was like, "Yeah, well, okay, what's his real name though?" I was like,
"Yeah,
like that's just his nickname."
Right? Harrison Greenbaum is my stage name.
Yeah.
Your real name is Engelbert Humperdinck. Yeah.
How is that a stage name?
I know, right?
Who chooses that?
Says Blair says donuts.
He's plotting already.
Oh yeah.
The fact that that's a stage name is ridiculous.
Yeah, he literally watches this just to get material on Blaze, which is great. He's like, I don't even do magic, but I love watching this. He's
absolutely picked out a bunch of memes already that have been from the past couple
Oh, yeah.
episodes. It's insane. And he watches for the most embarrassing faces that I might make or anything that I wouldn't want existing on the internet for a while after that, and then immediately targets that. And it's like, you sat through the whole thing?
Oh, yeah. He's probably watched like 40 hours of Magic After Dark.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
imagine
one
like-
more hour and this is magic. There's no more dark. It's just magic after.
No, right.
Yeah, magic after.
Magic before light.
Magic ever after. Yeah.
So
That's the new Hans Clock show.
Yes.
It's Clark Show, Magic Ever After.
Saying that, we should probably go into our next segment because we don't want to hold you on
Absolutely.
forever. We don't like to break too many records. The Eversons already hold it. 7 hours.
Worth every minute, says Says Blair.
now, would you say that after drinking all of those Yoo-hoos, you have a pretty big brain? Would you say that you're pretty smart, from all that nutrition? Yoo-hoo gives you IQ, would you say?
Yeah, I think it's the chemical additives for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Absolutely. So he's on performance enhancing drugs here. So he'll be fine for
And the
It's that time. It's time for my favorite rhyme. It's time for the IQ test. Let's see if you're better than the rest. It's time for the IQ test. Let's see if you're better than the rest. Did your teachers call you smart? Or more of an epidemic brain fart? It's about time we see. Can you count? 1, 2, 3. Let's see if the answers will agree. Can you count? 1, 2, 3.
Harvard University.
I'm just casual. This is how I casually hang out.
It's not flexing.
he's sprinting around the apartment.
And by the way, I'm now absolutely jinxing myself for this entire.
You graduated from Harvard University so that you could share your insight on lasagna.
Is this better? Are people happier if I share this certificate?
There you go.
What's
There you
that
go.
one?
Clowns
in America? Oh, yeah.
Nice. That is amazing.
I'm a registered clown, so I can get insurance.
Exactly. That's
Heyo.
That is amazing.
That's right. I did enter their virtual face painting competition.
Really?
During the pandemic. I really thought I had a shot, and I lost to a clown. And the rules were, as soon as they gave you the entrance number, you had like a week or so to do the painting. And we looked at his Facebook profile, and he had cheated. He had sent in a 10-year-old photo. He had poorly photoshopped.
Oh.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Oh.
so I think I indirectly got a clown maybe booted from the COAI.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, COAI.
What did you do during your pandemic? Because I took down a clown.
a clown?
What part of COVID are you most proud of?
I will tell you this. I now follow a lot of the clowns on social media, and the president, all the guys. And that got me through a lot of it. Because remember, like this, it was like the first debate between Trump and Biden. And at one point, Biden got so mad that he called Donald Trump a clown. And the Clowns of America International wrote an entire post, the president, about how upset he was that clown had been used as an insult.
Oh, my God.
Because that's what happened in 2020. One presidential candidate called another one a clown, and the clowns were like, leave us the fuck out of it.
Outraged.
Erupted.
Like, we cannot believe that you would associate us with that
So
guy.
all clowns then voted for Donald Trump. So you're saying
By the way, my fiance does have to pee. So if somebody appears very quickly, it's because I've trapped my beautiful and unbelievably patient fiance in the bedroom. And then she has to get to the bathroom, which I have selfishly set up my camera directly in front of all doors. There's no sneaking around.
There's no
you should
sneaking.
be
People still
bringing
get confused, right? They go, which one is the bathroom? And I go, I don't know, open a door. And if it's a bed, don't shit on it.
You should just pick up your camera right now and bring it closer to the door. So when she opens it,
Well, I wonder if I turn it this way, she can avoid detection.
We'll focus on the IQ test.
Yes,
So-
let's do it.
yes,
So get those brain juices firing.
here it
Here,
comes.
question 1.
How do you put a giraffe into a refrigerator?
Chop it up into little pieces. Does it have to be alive?
That guy grew something really
A
good.
dead giraffe
Oh,
easily
God.
fits in a refrigerator if you just chop it up.
Definitely not vegan anymore. Okay.
Or you put a hole in the top so the neck can stick out.
Wow.
Shove the
Wow.
body in.
Just
Wow. Jeez.
yeah, vegan out the window.
Yeah, definitely not vegan. Oh,
Chop
my
it
I'm a
up.
vegan until I have to solve a puzzle, and then they're gonna die.
It's gone.
God. All right.
So okay. So
Okay.
chop it up.
Chop it up in little pieces.
Harvard
graduate gets.
Oh, by the way, the other way to put giraffe into a refrigerator is the letters of giraffe are in the word refrigerator.
There are not two F's in
Yes, but you can
refrigerator.
repeat the F. It's all the things are in there.
No one has said that. That's actually
that is a
fantastic.
very good creative answer. That's
That's
what
the
you
other way to
get
put
with a
giraffe in
Harvard
a
degree.
refrigerator is you just add an extra F and then it's all in there.
Yeah, refrigerator. Yeah.
Refrigerator.
But all the elements you need to make a giraffe in terms of this word are there.
It is how the Italians say. That's how they do it. The refrigerator.
Refrigerator.
So, unfortunately, the Italians didn't help you this time. That is an incorrect answer. The correct answer was open the refrigerator, put the giraffe in, and close the door. This question tests whether you are doing simple things in a complicated
I did. I chopped it up into pieces and I shoved it in there. That counts.
You didn't even open the door.
You didn't open the door. Yeah,
Oh, you want me to
oxy-winded.
describe it? I just assumed you knew what I meant.
But
Put it in
but
the
also,
refrigerator.
no, chopping it up was not necessary.
Yeah,
This is a
Okay,
live giraffe.
fine.
Live
I'm fighting this one.
All
Asterisk.
right. All
That
right.
score has an
okay.
asterisk.
All right. Question 2. How do you put an elephant into a refrigerator?
Oh, I feel like these are just a series of like dad jokes I had in a book one day. How do you put an elephant into the refrigerator? Tell him his friend the giraffe is in the refrigerator and let him find it himself. Is that how the joke goes? Open the door, pull the giraffe out of the refrigerator, put the elephant in, close the door.
Yeah, I mean,
Chop up that motherfucker. And then just shove him next to the bloody body parts of the giraffe. This is obvious.
Yeah. The blood pools out of the
just
bottom.
the
of
blood
fridge.
pools out. And with that massacre, you have redeemed yourself. You got question 2 correct.
You did
The
get
answer
it.
was open the refrigerator, take out the giraffe, put in the elephant, and close the door. This
Because there's
test
a giraffe
your
in
ability to
there.
think through the repercussions of your actions. Notice it lists the wrong answer because many people would just say open the refrigerator, put in
But
the
there's a
elephant,
giraffe in
and
there.
They forget the giraffe.
Can't fit both.
Absolutely.
Can't
Cannot
both.
fit both. All right, so
Yeah, I
you
don't
redeemed
think-
yourself.
Depending on my refrigerator could fit neither animal.
Well, question 3 brings apart your favorite movie. So, The Lion King is hosting an animal conference, and all the animals attend except for one. Which animal does not attend?
Is it the lion because he's hosting? Does he count as an attendee?
The Lion King Animal Conference.
It's not a bad answer.
That isn't a bad answer.
It's pretty smart. Pretty smart.
It's either that or some dumb thing about if a human shows up, he's gonna get eaten the fuck. Like if I'm a gazelle, it's not a good idea to show up at this conference. There's no agreement from the lion. It seems. I don't know if he's a good host or a bad host.
So now, when it says the
Oh,
Lion
you know what?
King,
The elephant
are
is
you
not there
thinking-
because he's stuck in my fucking refrigerator. God
Now,
damn it!
what would you go with as your final answer here?
Elephant,
Are you going to say
'cause
the
he's in my
lion? Are you going to go with
refrigerator.
Mufasa? Maybe.
No, the elephant. The elephant's definitely not there, but also the giraffe because I murdered him. But let's say elephant.
Murdered it on the side. Yes. Yes, correct. The elephant. The elephant is in the
elephant.
refrigerator. This tests your memory. But now that brings us
To the 4th and final question.
I hope the answer to the 4th one is a lasagna shaped like a sad grandma.
You're onto something actually. The 4th question is: there is a river you must cross, but it is inhabited by crocodiles. How do you solve the problem?
It's easy. Grandma-shaped lasagna.
Yeah. Kick the elephant out of the refrigerator and use it like a boat? Do I still have the refrigerator? I feel like that's what they want me to know.
Still have the refrigerator.
There is a river you must cross, but it is inhabited by crocodiles.
Yeah, you toss the elephant out, get in the refrigerator, use it as a boat.
That's a good
And
strategy.
let me just make a note to myself. Never send my children to Harvard.
Yeah.
Of money, waste of money.
Hey, I'm technically 3 for 3.
This would be a you are now 50%.
Or take all the dead elephants and giraffes and put them in the river, and while the crocodiles are distracted, swim. The final answer, though, I think, is use the refrigerator like a boat.
Unfortunately.
Incorrect answer.
I don't have the refrigerator anymore.
Incorrect.
It was persistent throughout all the other questions.
No, well, the thing is, these questions were consistent. Notice that the river is inhabited by crocodiles, but remember, they are attending the animal conference.
Oh,
so you swim across.
Swim across.
Swim across. Yeah, it says this tests whether you learn quickly from your mistakes. According to a study by Anderson Consulting, around 90% of the professionals they tested got all questions wrong. But
I also have my refrigerator, though, so I'm going to argue with this thing.
Yeah. But many preschoolers got several correct answers. Anderson Consulting says this conclusively disproves the theory that most managers have the brains.
First of all, Anderson Consulting sounds made up.
It sounds very
Second
made
of
up.
all, this sounds like the end of the story is, and we use these procedures to hire all the CEOs of a very famous company. Enron.
Anderson.
I mean,
hey, Anderson. Yeah, Harrington found you out.
Yeah.
You finally got it.
Anderson's right over there. Now, it's interesting because I don't know if you noticed, Ryan, but I think Harrison gave the exact same answers as Aussie throughout the entire quiz. Aussie, a fellow
Are you
vegan.
saying if I had just watched the previous episode, I would have known all?
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's why we do it so late on. That's the thing. That's why we don't get to the first segment until an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
That's the formula all good shows use, is they bury the content an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We really are trying to.
Sitcoms, they're an hour and a half of filler, but then the jokes just start rolling.
Yeah, we're not into
Those
viewer
classic
retention.
2.5 hour episodes.
Who needs viewer retention? Really,
we don't
you
have
know?
the warm-up guy to come up and
Yeah.
I didn't warm up,
Yeah. So
and those
So we just-
housewives didn't know what hit them.
we
No, yeah. But
We
Aussie
saw
did
that
say
in
the
that.
exact same thing. He's a fellow vegan. Well, I guess you were a former vegan, but he's currently a vegan. His first answer immediately was chop it up in little
chop it
pieces.
up. Yeah, chop it up.
Now the thing is,
He said chop it up and Tetris it in.
yeah, and
That's
then
smart.
the thing is that he continued to fight us though going into the future questions. Where on the second one he always maintained the same logic of I must chop up the elephant too and just Tetris the pieces interspersed within the giraffe pieces
Yeah.
so that they both. And then his response at the end was, "Well, I've been saving all of these giraffe and elephant pieces in my fridge this whole time, so I can finally toss them and
then take the boat across the
and
fridge.
then take the boat across. Yeah, take the fridge. So
Um,
great minds think alike.
Yeah, that's it. Or everyone is sharing one brain in New York City. I didn't
Yes.
say it. I didn't say it.
Yeah, every
Very
Jewish
New York
magician in their 30s.
Yeah.
Very New York minded.
That's it.
We don't live that far apart either, by the way.
No.
Yeah.
Honey. Okay.
Just goes-
It's been a prestige the whole time.
That's amazing.
No, he's like 20 blocks up.
Like
Really?
20
Yeah.
blocks. That sounds like a really far distance.
20
He's not that
blocks.
far in New York. He's on the same side of the city.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
At this time of night, it's a 5-minute Uber.
You know what? I actually remember watching a Sinbad just for laughs, and he said that he's like Canadians, like in Montreal, we would say, like I'm not from Montreal, but he was there doing just for laughs, and he's like, people in Montreal go, oh, it's like just 2 blocks that way, and he's like, in the States, like 2 blocks is like, no, yeah, no problem, I'll walk that. He's like 2 blocks in Canada. It's like it's a 25-minute drive. It's like so
Really?
yeah. It's like no
It's
one.
like LA, because you can walk between the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory. And I was like, I'm not going to repark my car. I'll just walk it. What is it, 10, 15 blocks total? And people looked at me like I was out of my mind.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you can walk it, but you don't really do that.
Right.
I don't think it's a thing that Canadians say though. Like if you said like how many blocks to somewhere, we'd be like, it's like 5 minutes that way. Like I have no idea. You know, like,
So you just give them made up numbers in blocks.
yeah, we
It
don't.
looks like it's about 3,000 Legos away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
And
maybe,
if you're in any town, the safest thing when people ask me how far away, something like 20 minutes.
yeah, yeah.
Give or take, it's going to be 20 minutes.
Give or take 20 minutes. Like I don't. Maybe in Toronto you would say, oh, it's like 3 blocks or something. But other than Toronto, nowhere else would use that expression.
Yeah. I think the Canadians at least would be nicer about it.
Yeah, what we do, we offer our horse and buggy or our dog sled, whichever.
You're like, Canadians are so nice. I'm like, yeah, they have health care. What do they have to be sad about?
Yeah.
Americans are worried that if they break a toe, they're going to have to put their brother down. Like, of course, Canadians are nicer.
So when I lived in Vegas, people are like, oh, sick, you're moving to Vegas. I was like, yeah, I love it here. And then I needed knee and back surgery. And I was like, I'm moving home. I was like, see you guys. I was like, I'd be bankrupt and owe money for life. Like my back surgery would be like over
Like, why
100
knee and back surgery? The back surgery is from carrying the show, and the knee surgery is how I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
The land of the free. Free to pay as much money as you have.
That's it. You are one heart attack away from bankruptcy.
Yes, you are free to go bankrupt. As
Right,
much as you want.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. It costs you nothing to go bankrupt over there. Maybe your life, but that's the sad thing. Like, obviously, we pay way more in taxes and stuff than you guys, but it is the crazy thing that people in America won't go and see a doctor when they're sick and stuff because they're like, well, I'm not going to be able to eat next week if I go to the doctor.
Would you go to see a magic show if there was no ticket price, but the ticket price could be everything you have?
Yeah, exactly. But that's the crazy one.
Copperfield was great. He was $400,000, but after insurance, 13.
Yeah. But even I mean, we still pay for insurance. Like I still have health insurance here, but it covers like my dental and eye care and stuff. Like that stuff's not covered unless eye care. My fiance is an optician, so eye care is covered if you're over a certain age, and if you're younger than like 18, then your eyes are covered.
Or if you're banging the doctor.
Then you're covered.
And it's free as well. Someone said, where do you live?
Where do you live?
I don't know who that was sent out to. So,
Yeah, Eugene is correct.
Eugene.
How do you know that all the crocodiles are attending? Maybe it was boring and they left early.
Yeah, maybe a couple of the geriatric crocodiles are zooming into the conference.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's the better answer. It's a Zoom conference.
It's a
Let's
Zoom
go to the
conference.
river, refrigerator boat.
Yeah.
Refrigerator boat. And toss the pieces of elephant.
I think it was David Penn that was like, we need video proof of all of these answers, because he thought, again, cut it up and put it in the fridge. And his last thing was like Indiana Jones or something, like running across the crocodiles. He's like, there is video footage of this happening. There is no video footage of
he used Indiana Jones as video footage, as video proof.
Like,
I go, oh yeah, okay.
He's like, The Lion King, not all of the animals were there. I watched The Lion King and stuff. Like, it's like everything had to be video proof. It was great.
Just going Noah's Ark on us. It was really nice.
He's like, there was 2 of each animal. That is it. There's 2
You know what
crocodiles.
pressure was on each one of those animals? Like if they didn't bang, end of that animal.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. That's very true. Yeah. And then
Unicorn?
Noah
Just didn't want to do it.
No, he accidentally brought 2 male unicorns, and then it was just over.
So bad. This is why this is magic after dark, not during the day. But yeah. Well, Harrison, every episode, we don't want to hold you up too late, and I know your fiance is waiting to go to the bathroom.
So tell us your whole life story.
So
yeah, okay. I was born. I was. I can't believe that.
Now, one question. Yeah, we should probably just get into the question you were going to ask. I was going to ask a whole nother diatribe.
I feel like his fiance is going to kill him or us once this episode is done. So every episode we like to do a giveaway.
Ooh!
So we give away a free download, any download you want from Lost Art Magic. And so we ask a question about something that we talked about tonight.
Ooh.
And so, what do you have any questions on your mind?
Me?
Yeah, what do you think? What
I
should we
can ask any question?
Any question that probably someone who watched the whole episode or would know the answer to.
Ooh, oh boy.
I always think of one of like your top, like your 20 questions. You only made it through 15.
Oh, I was gonna say I stuffed a magic. There was a story about how I realized I needed to separate stand up and magic. The only way to get good at stand up was to do stand up. You have to do it without a net. You have to live or die by your jokes.
Yeah.
And I said I was stuffing a particular magic trick into my back pocket. What was the magic trick that a comedian told me to stop stuffing?
That is a great question.
That's a
so if you can answer that question, comment in the comment section, and you will win a free download from All Star Magic.
Yes. Wow. Sage Blair got it.
Yes.
Sage Blair won. Whoa.
Sage Blair for the win.
Bravo.
I love his photo. Can we bring his comment back up?
Oh my God. You
Yes.
did the freeze frame because you said something about flexing and we all flexed at the same time. And then he took
He's
the
like,
freeze
he's
frame.
putting his arm
Oh
up.
my God. Are you trying to be Rosie the Riveter? What is
I was just missing the bandana.
That is amazing.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I can't believe that it's also a YouTube page now. And then he made that.
Kevin Capino said sponge ding dong. That's an example of a trick. That trick and the bra trick that should just go away forever.
They should just go away. Yeah.
I think the bra trick for sure. The ding dong, maybe there's a world in an adult show, but like it can never appear from somebody's non-consensual hand.
So there was one time at the Magic Castle where Jabrizi came. It was also the day. It was also the day where he was banned from the Magic Castle.
Oh.
Where he was
I have a Venn diagram that Jabrizi is like prison food, only enjoyed by bad people with no taste.
That's good.
I need a microphone so I can drop it.
So you can drop it. Don't worry about it because we've got the mic drop. I mean, it's a gold nugget either way. But so he on the day that he was banned from the Magic Castle, he was also doing magic for people in the out in the lobby, and he he has a black sponge ball, and then he has another black sponge ball, and then he gives it to this woman or whatever, and then he's like, "All right, you're holding my two black balls. Do you want to hold my black dick?" And then she opens her hand, and then it was Sponge Ding Dong. And then he said, "My black dick's going to make you pregnant." And then he did the baby hand from her stomach. So he reached over to her stomach and then did the little baby hand. And I was like, what's going on right now?
For everybody watching Magic After Dark, that should be a great gold nugget for exactly what not to do.
Jesus.
Ever.
Gold nugget.
Ever.
Holy shit. Absolutely. That's
like, whoa.
Please never do that.
No, on every level with every part of it. That's a hate crime against magic and humanity.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. Like, this is just unbelievable. This is just, I can't believe I've just experienced this.
I mean, there is something incredible about how he could be so wrong in so many ways. Like, it's one thing to screw up one thing, but to be that wrong on every detail requires some kind of aptitude.
Yeah.
Ryan says, "Why was he kicked out of the Magic Castle?"
It was because a friend of his picked a fight with another magician who was performing there, and I think that he was part of the discussion or argument. But I know that it wasn't necessarily Jabrizi as the person who had a problem with this other person. It was that he was kind of around and in the mix.
Why was he kicked out of the Magic Castle? Because they recognized him.
Yeah, because they saw who it was.
Oh, you're the guy with the ding dong trick.
You're the guy with the ding dong. Sponge ding dong. Kevin, you would have won.
I wish he had gone to Magic Camp. I bet you if he had gone to Magic Camp, we would have been able to. I would like to think we could have fixed some of that.
Fix it. Yeah.
You'd think. I mean,
Taught
well,
him
the
right
guy.
lessons.
I'll say that the guy who is Jabrizi's friend, who they both got banned together from the Magic Castle, he was a former camper, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
How? I mean, it feels. He feels.
Valera.
I don't know him. I don't want to speak out of school because I just don't know him and I don't know his life story. But like, it feels like he needs a mentor to just like explain to him why what he's doing is not right.
Yeah.
So next week's guest is.
Is it Jabrizi? Come on.
It's super-
No.
I mean, what if we had Jabrizi on?
Can if you surprise me with him right now, that would be incredible.
That would be amazing.
He
Just
popped up.
bring him on.
Oh my god, that would be
Please.
must-see TV.
Bring him on. Bring on the fourth.
Bring him on. Bring him on. Come on, let's
we
do
gotta
it.
Bring him on.
Oh, I would love it.
Yeah.
Is that the download you're giving away? That trip cake?
That's it.
Cake, yeah, that's what we're giving away. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Thank God I like pie. I'm suspicious of people who prefer cake to pie.
Now the thing is, he used to be my neighbor. Like, if we wanted to get him on, I could get him on. Like, but it's just a thing of like, are we gonna?
Take your laptop right now. Go onto Wi-Fi.
We actually. So I was talking to a couple guys back in the day about running a magic convention and having like this crazy small intimate magic convention. And we were like, should we invite Jabrizi? But then tell him, like, you have to realize that in the magic community, you're kind of like looked down upon in every aspect, right? And then be like, are you okay to do like the roast of Jabrizi or like Dunk Tank with Jabrizi in it?
But you can't. So, like, as a magic roaster of sorts, you can't roast him in that way because I truly feel this way. In general, you only roast the ones you love. It can't be a roast where everybody on the dais genuinely doesn't like the person.
Yeah.
Like when I roasted Matt King, I love Matt King. Like the roast came from a place of love.
Yeah.
A roast that comes not from that place goes off the rails very quickly. I wouldn't want that for the roasters or for Jabrizi.
I'm like a huge fan of the roasts, like of just regular roasts of people and stuff. And so I'm trying to, when they had, what's her name? She worked with Trump as well. She was on the roast.
I'm a roast that.
No.
Nope.
She's a older white lady.
Are you talking about
the Holocaust?
Ann Coulter?
Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter was on one of the roasts. And as a comedian roasting, I forget who she was roasting, but my goodness.
It was one of the roughest things.
It's also weird because Comedy Central is like putting together the dais so that they're sort of like targets in a weird way. It's that stuff is always weird. I think the situation was on one once.
Situation was horrendous.
Yeah, and I feel bad for them because sometimes they're just setting them up as punching bag. I say all of that. If Comedy Central wants to book me for a roast, I would murder a giraffe and elephant and shove him in my refrigerator if that's what it takes to do. I would love that. There's a few things I would love more than to be on a Comedy Central roast. Holy shit.
Yeah, but Ann Coulter was.
I'm your boy, guys. But maybe Comedy Central will book me if this is my website.com. That's really a domain that I bought.
You had also like a domain about, it was like a giant super long domain about Netflix or something.
I want a Netflix special. I also have I want a Netflix special, but Amazon or Hulu is good too.
.com.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I had somebody in the industry be like, if you just have I want a Netflix special, I feel like all the other streaming services are going to be like, well, then fuck you. So I included them.
Yes.
I would be happy to do a special on anything.
That is amazing.
That's hilarious.
Honestly, if anybody's watching this, and I don't know who is at this point, but if you're in the industry, I'm your boy.
Give him a special.
Let's do it. I already did Madison Square Garden. It was epic.
I'd like to hope that the gatekeepers behind Netflix specials are sitting through 2 hours and 58 minutes of this podcast.
They were like, I can't wait to give him a special. This is the best. He's going to use a refrigerator as a boat? Well, fuck.
We thought he was smart. We can't
Harvard
have
graduate? No.
veggie lasagna. What's up with this guy?
Mushrooms on the pizza.
That guy's
Mushroom
not
pizza.
normal. You cannot have him.
Now mushrooms on pizza, but pineapple on pizza? Question mark.
I'm not here to what is it? Yuck your yum.
Oh, it's not my yum. Certainly not my yum that you.
Yeah, I think if you're in Hawaii and you want to do a Hawaiian pizza, I'm not going to stand in front of you. But you do have to understand that the pineapple contains a lot of water. And the whole joy of the pizza is that it is not a sopping mess. So if you're going to do a pineapple on a pizza, you better eat that boy fast. That bad boy fast. Isn't that weird? If you leave out the word bad, it becomes way creepier. I tried to say you better eat that bad boy fast. And instead I just said, you better eat that boy fast. And it changes the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole
You
context.
can't say, oh, look at that boy. Yeah, that guy's such a bad boy. That's fine. You're like, that guy's such a boy.
Look at that bad boy. You just go, look at that boy.
That word is so
Whoa.
important.
Yeah.
True.
Oh,
Just
wow.
like it's kind of sexy to be like, who's your daddy? But it's not okay to say, who's your father?
Who's your
Your
father?
father. Who's your
Doesn't work.
dad?
Doesn't work.
That's
Even the DY is important. Who's your dad? It's a different connotation.
your dad.
Or like I was making a joke. I was being very cute. I swear I was being cute. It was like, I was calling my fiance like a big fat liar, but like completely sarcastically, completely a joke. She was not. I was like, oh, yeah, big fat liar, like jokey.
Yeah.
But I left off big because I wasn't thinking. So she's like, the fat liar. The big is so important. So important.
Fat liar.
You fat liar.
A fat liar, bad. But if you add an extra insult and say they're also big, big fat liar, children's movie. Fat liar could cost you a relationship.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Oh my gosh.
so I think the last question of the night, Harrison, would you rather look like a potato or feel like a potato?
What does a potato feel like?
Hypothetical.
Hypothetical. Yeah.
I will tell you, there's a great website called Potato Parcel. I should not be giving away the secret. It's my favorite. I love it. You can send people potatoes. And every once in a while,
actually.
just as a gesture to somebody that I love, I will send them a potato with my face on it or their face on it or a message on it. And I think it's generally well received.
Extraordinary.
That is where I heard of this. It was on Dragon's Den or Shark Tank.
Shark Tank had it. Yeah.
I do remember
Every
that.
once in a while, you send somebody a potato just to say thank you.
That
My
is
fiance's
amazing.
grandparents had an anniversary. I sent them an anniversary potato. And I think they ate it, which good for them.
Good for them that they trusted that potato.
Waste not, want not.
That's it.
So do I want to look? I don't think I want to look like a potato. Do I get to have a face? I don't think I want to be a potato. I have many eyes, though. I guess I want to feel like a potato. And by that, I mean I'm extra delicious if stuffed with butter.
That is the best answer I think.
I think that's where we end the podcast. I'm extra delicious if stuffed with butter.
I very much feel like a potato. If you put me in the microwave, I will explode.
Just chop you up and put you in the fridge instead. Much better.
Yes, yeah, chop you up. Tetris the pieces.
Yeah. But
I'm like a potato. I taste terrible raw.
Just completely dry.
Have you ever tried a raw potato? What a weird vegetable that it is so good in so many ways, except on natural.
Yeah, it is very.
That's true. That's true. Have you ever mistaken a potato for an apple before?
No,
Like a red potato and mistaken it for an apple? I once did that as a young child, as a babe. I once did this
that was last.
and was severely disappointed. As I was like, oh, it's an apple, and then I just bit into it, and my grandmother was like, no, that's not.
Oh,
I was like,
that's the exact same feeling as when I was a kid and I saved up money to buy a levitation device that was being advertised by Magic Max. No magnets, no threads. There was no, what else was there? No magnets, no threads, no wires. See, completely self-contained. Any small object, and it was a thumb tip with a suction cup.
No
And-
way.
And you go like this. And I spent months saving and thinking, what could this be, this miracle device? And I finally bought it, and it felt like biting into a potato and you thought it was an apple.
Just pure disappointment.
Just, this is not what I asked for.
This is not at all what I asked for.
That's amazing.
Are we ready
Well,
to
here's
end
the-
the way that we began?
We always like to end every episode how we began.
Are you going to whoosh away? Oh, no.
Come on, Harrison.
Come on, Harrison.
Come on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week, Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you so much for watching Magic After Dark. Have a great night.